What is up, everybody? It's on program. You know it. You love it. We're here. We're talking about the Acolyte. We're live. It's Friday night. We're excited about it. Got a heck of a panel here. It's a surprise to you. It's a surprise to me. Can't wait to see. Taylor's got internet. That was a confusing one. We weren't sure about that. We weren't sure if she was going to be able to make it. But yeah, it looks like we got a heck of a panel here. We got Andy Mason, we got Taylor B, we got Michael B, and you got me, your boy Eddie G. We're ready to have a good time. This one, I can't wait to dive into this one. This is a season finale, okay? A lot of stuff happened. The Acolyte is done. It's in the books. So I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what our general thoughts are for this this big finale here. Andy's got a big old smile on her face, like she wants me to, ask her. So go ahead, Andy. What are your general impressions of this finale?
Oh, geez. I really liked it a lot. As always, I got to watch it with my Michael, and we had a blast. I do have some specific favorite moments that I'll want to touch on later. But yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed it.
Heck yeah. I love that. I actually took notes. The second week in a row. Don't get used to it, people. Maybe you can get used to it. I don't know. I'm starting to get excited about it, but I got stuff to say. Okay, I'm ready. I'm excited. Prime Day was good. Prime Day was good to me. I reinvested a little bit into this show, so we got some lights, we got some cameras, and hopefully we're gonna have a little bit of action here tonight on the show. Taylor, tell me what you're thinking. And everybody, this is Taylor's last week with a bad microphone because she's also going to reap the benefits of Amazon Prime Day. Taylor, tell me what you were thinking about this show. General impressions only. Spoiler free, please.
This is also one of the first times he's told me I have a bad microphone.
The internet told us all.
Girl. It sounds crunchy.
Girl, you sound like a Zoom call. You sound like a quarterly review since day one.
I'm sure I don't sound any better right now. It's okay.
No, I really enjoyed the episode. There were some fantastic moments. I was surprised by how many things we called.
Oh, yeah.
And I obviously still have a ton of questions. I really hope we get a season 2. But yeah, I can't wait to dig in when we discuss spoilers.
Same. Yeah. Very into it. Hey, we got a return customer. We got a return customer, and it's not the one I expected. So welcome back, Up in Smoke. Glad to see you. And
wow. It's a super original take I've never heard before. This is crazy.
Hey, be nice. He's our meanie. He's our troll. This is.
We love you. Keep coming. This is great.
Yeah. Hey, I got respect for the type of man who can talk it, but then also take it and be a good sport about it. So far we're all playing nice, and we're glad to have you here.
Love it.
Yeah, we might be the only people. I don't think we are, because we got friends that aren't on this show as well that, I think a lot of people like it, but I know a lot of people don't. And
they do say, the message says the only people on the internet. So it's not really
That's
even
true.
a hate comment. It's kind of just an observation. So
that's true.
We're glad you're back up and stuff.
We're glad you're back. Yeah, I'm thinking of last week as well. Like we know what he can.
I saw that too. I saw that too.
Yeah. But anyway, okay. So Michael, tell us what you were thinking, because you weren't here last week, and we spent a lot of the episode talking about the vapors of the hot takes that you would have delivered on the show, but Mother Nature struck you down for a 72-hour period, and so I'm curious as to give me the spoiler-filled version of last week and everything up to this point, and then of course spoiler-free for the finale. Let's not take like half an hour, but give me like, if you can keep it to 5 minutes, where we can cook with it.
Okay, so last week was the flashback, and we're doing no spoilers on last week as well.
No, we're doing spoilers on last week.
Spoilers last week. Okay,
no spoilers.
So last
week
was awesome. Really cool to see the Wookiee fight. a little tame actually for what I was expecting, considering we know Wookiees have a reputation for just kind of ripping people's arms off for fun. So I'm curious how much of that was
Jedi
him
Wookiees, though.
fighting and everything go. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot there. It was tamer than it could have been for the show that snapped somebody's neck a few episodes ago, stabbed a child 3 times in the chest. So like
Fair
it could have
enough.
been worse. The fact that Torben walked away with like still most of his eye is actually, I think, a testament to him. As whiny as he was in the beginning of the episode, he pulled out some moves. I thought it was actually kind of cool to see, especially from like a very legit Padawan.
It's total
Let's see.
legitness.
I'm with anybody who feels like his whininess was annoying and didn't really seem justified for his just like the girls might be the virgins. Let's just go. We're just gonna change everything, and I'm just gonna jump on a speeder and go AWOL. And that seemed like a little bit of a jump for me, but again, the guy had been pretty seriously messed with. And then Soul's like, I'm gonna go stop them, and then definitely joins in and is like, let's climb. I don't know. It was a little bit weird, all that going together, but they sewed a story that made you, I think, genuinely feel bad for Soul, at least in the moment when he had to choose between Osha and May. Not that he was biased or anything. Like he definitely was stuck with the inability to save both girls, and that I feel like they could have hammered that more to haunt him more than just harping on the fact that he accidentally killed their mom or jumped the gun and killed their mom. Their mom, air quotes. I don't know, whatever, however that works. Could be a clone at this point. I still think they could be like forced clones of the mother. Don't know. Anyway, um, we definitely called the whole split personality thing, like they're two halves of the same person. I think we talked about that the week before. We also obviously called like that whole flashback we had before was sort of a fake out because all we got a lot more of the detail this time. Still left with a few questions, and I think we talked about that mostly on the Discord, so I don't want to dwell too much on that episode. But we got a lot of cool action.
Yeah, 100%. I'm curious, and we can keep it spoiler free, but how much does a show need to, that line between predictable and also, I don't know, just making sense based off of setups if you're paying attention, right? Like how much of it
Mm-hmm.
needs to be shocking for its own sake, or how much needs to be like Leslie Headland said, like it's not what happens, it's how it happens and the execution of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How much of that worked or didn't work for you based off of, again, like everybody's saying, predictions going well for us?
So the whole
Glad you back, Andrew.
Chimere,
Smash like, thank you.
the whole Chimere reveal, I think, was not as well done as I think they wanted. I don't think it was as successful. We all called it. I didn't want it to be him because I thought it was too obvious. And when they did it, it was kind of, I don't know. It felt like they wanted it to be this big reveal, and it was just super obvious. So that one, not so much. How exactly everything went down with the fight was pretty good. Like we all knew it kind of had to happen that way, but I was still there for it to see how it all went down.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how they showed the perspective difference, where they didn't really show anything. They showed more information rather than conflicting information. Like nothing that they
Okay.
showed from the first one wasn't here, including even some of like May's faces and stuff that happened. But thanks, Travis. Yeah, I don't know. It worked well enough for me, but I don't think that a show has to be unpredictable to be enjoyable. I think that's a misnomer. There are plenty of shows out there. We just watched Twisters 2, which, unspoilers, it was very predictable in my opinion. It was still fun. It was still cute and it was a ride, but it was very, very predictable, like
Were
moment to
there
moment.
2 twisters in that one?
Oh, there were many twisters, let me tell you. Many, many
Wow.
twisters and lots of,
Oh boy.
wanton destruction. Never would have guessed from any pictures of that show at all. But no, the plot beats, like from moment to moment, it was really obvious. I think we've had other situations where we've had disjointed writing, right? Like Obi-Wan, I think, suffered from some disjointed beats where you'd go, okay, we went from this scene to this scene, and it makes sense now in retrospect. The story had to go here, but how they chose to get from A to B just didn't really make sense and mesh. This show
Yeah.
has done that a lot better. I think they've melded the story, even if it means, okay, yes, we know exactly what's about to happen and where it's going to go, and it does happen kind of in that same way. It doesn't detract from it because it's done well.
Correct.
There are still some little things here and there where it's just like individual actions of people, or like I don't understand that yet, and I hope that they explain it, because I don't know. There's some things that Soul had done, stuff that May has
Yeah.
done, stuff that
Well, because
even
it's tough,
Indara
right?
does,
Because
and
you
yeah,
don't know what is a season 2 thing or what is like intentionally. You don't know what was left on the stove or what they didn't realize was on the stove, right?
Yeah.
right.
Like
Well, and there's a lot
that's
of stuff
kind of tough.
we dismissed from the beginning and said, "Oh, this could be bad, but we're going to have to wait till the show's over." Now that the season's over, pending potentially a second season or more, I think it's a lot easier to go back and critique some of those things as being not well executed for sure. I think there's a few actions, especially May's sort of inconsistent behavior, where
It's funny
it,
you
it
say
could
that.
still get explained later, but for now, not sure.
I also think some things
Because
could be more exciting and more meaningful on a
They could.
rewatch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
here's the thing. I'm glad we have a yin and a yang. I can't remember which side is white or black on that whole deal, but I've been agonizing over what content will bring you lovely people now that our weekly drip feed of Star Wars is done. And I think the first one is going to be a rewatch of this whole show, binging it throughout the week as much as we can. And if it's the first half and the second half, we'll do it that way. Or if we can get through the whole damn thing, we'll do it. But I think that's what we should do, is rewatch it and then
Acolyte
talk about the
retrospect. Yeah.
season as a whole. Now that the dust has settled, the smoke is cleared, and see what's happened. Because look, honestly, every time I watch this thing, usually I watch it in the hotel on the iPad, like I said, and then I get home and I watch it on the TV, and it's like it's a whole new experience every single time. Like I keep getting more from it, and I think it grows. But hey, I can't remember, Taylor, with you
Yeah.
chopping in and out. Did you give your spiel already, or did you not?
I gave my spoiler-free
You gave your
spiel.
spiel. Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
We
cool.
haven't got to
Thank you. Sorry
spoilers
about
yet.
that.
Otherwise, Travis, I'm totally with you there. That's another. There were
Same,
several
Travis.
examples. There's several examples of things like that happened that I'm like, is this bad writing?
Hold on.
Which could be.
That particular boy we're gonna get to, because there's a lot there.
There's
But
a strong. Yeah, no. But I'm saying there were
Ed took
multiple
notes,
circumstances
guys.
throughout the series where it's, at least on the first watch through, it's like, is this bad writing? Is this intentionally confusing to be explained later? Or is this something that we just missed and will make a lot more sense in a rewatch?
We
That's
also
And so
have
there's several moments.
maybe it's
That's
just me, but I'm also like, am I being overly critical because the internet? Am I being overly supportive because of the internet? I
Yeah, no,
I wish that was clear from my
we
mind.
it's funny how much I have to tell people that I spend a lot of time critiquing this show. Not just like,
Yeah.
it's fantastic, it's amazing. I spent a lot of time being like, no, I have legit questions and concerns about this show, and yet still enjoy it. So,
Yeah.
I think as
Yeah.
a season
You're
and
a
as a show
shill. We're all
overall,
shills.
we're all shills because we didn't
I'm
review bomb
Hillary
it.
Clinton over here, right?
Mhm.
I am the village.
So anyway, this last episode, you wanted something brief and you didn't get it. Sorry. I liked it. Is good. There's some similar criticisms. I think I'm rating it like a 7.5 out of 10 so far. The whole thing, like maybe a 7.
That's cool.
A
I definitely
a
wasn't going to
rewatch
ask
may.
that question later.
No, you're welcome. But I think that
Michael's
I
like,
was really talking about this last
hey, everybody
episode.
shut the fuck up for a second. I'm going to do my whole thing, and then I'm going to leave.
And these are my final thoughts. Spoiler warning.
Oh, I love you so much. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was very excited to do the rating toward the end, but now we know.
I was really just talking about this episode. You used to ask us that every
7.5.
week.
Yeah.
I was just
I
talking about
did
this
week,
episode,
though.
but fine. All right, Ed didn't ask. I'll shut up now. Go ahead. Let's do your spoilers. Where's your spoiler warning, Ed? Come on.
Settle down.
Man,
Settle down.
this is fun. I'm sorry.
Don't show me to take a week off.
I was gonna say. Ed's rethinking if he missed you.
I know.
No.
No, not at all. I love this man. I love this, man. We quarrel like an old married couple because that's where our souls are. We're aligned. Okay. Let's get into my
Unrequited.
favorite unrequited. Yes. Let's get into my favorite part of the show now. Is spoiler time. This is your spoiler warning. Here comes the truth, gonna give you chills. Oh man. In a past life, I used to do that professionally.
That was really loud. I'm curious what the chat thinks, how the
So
audio
loud.
balance is on that. It's very loud.
Well, you made me turn off the noise gate, so I was all the way back here. I thought it was gonna work, but
Oh no,
but
no,
he
no.
was like,
Your voice was actually great. I was wondering if that was you or just in the mix. The overall music was just a bit loud.
oh, that's interesting.
Your bellow there was actually on point.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. There's some new equipment here. So, actually the chat, please let me know audio levels, all this sort of stuff. Please keep me in the loop. Oh my goodness, guys. My best friend is here. Todd Motherfucking McDane. I'm sorry. You know when I start forgetting not to curse, we're having a really good time. I'm sorry, everybody. All right, it's spoiler time. The time is now for spoilers. Wow. Okay. Let's catch up with Travis. He had a lot to say. He usually does, but it's always so good. Dropping diamonds, mass-produced diamonds. Okay, he says, add one more person to the internet who likes the Acolyte. Agreed. Thank you. Glad you're here, Travis. Always a treat. If there's one thing the show established, it's that they weren't trying to mislead us. Yes, we love an honest broker. One of my things is I love a thing that knows what it is. This show knows what it is, and it's not afraid to stand on that. He says it requires rewatch, but he was confused as to why Basil sabotaged the ship. We're going to get to Basil. We're going to get to Basil. I actually added a whole other sound effect just for Basil because I didn't even really know what to say about him.
Is it the sound of an Italian chef?
What the hell is even that?
The whole time. Didn't really care for that guy. Did not care for that guy. Did anyone like Basil? I want to gauge the room before we.
I love Basil. There's nothing better than his
What's
little
your
bow
excuse?
legs.
Is
His
anyone
bow
surprised?
legs toddling around the ship like he just learned how to walk.
You mean like hanging from puppet strings? Not toddling. He's
his-
hanging from puppet strings. It's so awkward. It's creepy as heck.
Motivations?
It's bad.
His motivations? Who knows?
His motivations
like-
are chaos. He is actually the Sith's apprentice, not Khmer.
Darth Basil, I brought that up on my watch. I was like, maybe, I love Basil. He's cute. I like his little sniffing around like all my favorite animals do. I mean, I love that guy. That guy's never done anything wrong.
I liked him at first when he was just like the sentient bloodhound. I thought that was fun, but like the way he just kept. I know, Michael. I know you don't like small fuzzy things.
You need to clip it. I didn't like it from the very beginning.
I hated it before it was cool. I've always hated it.
I think everyone hated him, but me.
Yeah, I didn't like him either.
Andy was the only one. I bet you like Ewoks.
Too much like a dog for you, Taylor. Too much like a dog. You'd lead that thing on fire. So
Wow, calling me out.
Bum, bum,
Rude.
Speaking of, Lewis Berry says hi, and to that I say hi. Glad you're here. Welcome. Yeah. Okay. Taylor's talking in our own chat. We appreciate that. She's like a low key mod. We don't have mods yet, so she's kind of wearing the mod hat. I appreciate that. Okay, Travis again says there were a lot of homages to the third films of each trilogy. Soul and Chimere's fight, and May choking Soul like episode 3, Vernestra burning Soul like episode 6, and wandering the wreckage of Brendock like episode 9. That's interesting. Yeah, it's like poetry. It rhymes. Up in Smoke says, do you think there will be a season 2? I don't know. What do you guys think? Will there be a season 2? I certainly hope so. We got teased some pretty cool stuff that we're going to get into whenever we get on the synopsis that is just flailing in the wind. Michael, yes, please.
I think even with the negative reception that is received, I think Disney would be stupid not to make a season 2 because of how much it triggered so many people without really doing anything worth triggering them. Just like they were so mad about this show that there's no way it didn't make money off of being just reviled by so many people. And yet it's not worth that. Like, it was so good. There's so many moments that are great. Sure, it has problems, but like, man, people just
Yeah.
talked about this so much, and talking about a show is money. So I think they'd be dumb not to renew it.
I'm with you. I want to see more. I want to see honestly, well, I'm not going to do what I said Michael did. We'll get there later. Okay. Todd, my boy, he says this panel might be more entertaining than the show itself. Thank you. We appreciate that. We're certainly trying. We are being goofy for you, my friend, and to that I say oh my gosh.
That is
This
so loud.
It's great. Okay. Is it really that loud? It sound off in the chat.
It's
Chat.
loud.
Is it too loud?
It's
Chat?
fine.
Substantially
Okay.
louder than your voice.
Is it really? Okay. All right. Let me lower it down then. Because we still need it. It needs to be here. But because look, even Up in Smoke says that soundbite was hilarious. I don't know if he's talking about this one, but I think he is. So yeah.
No, he was
I
talking
feel
about
like
the
he
one
meant the
made
one
for
with Basil. Yeah.
Basil.
The what the hell is
Basil.
even that? Yeah.
Basil.
Basil.
Yeah, you know, the Italian spice.
Rise of
the basil.
Skywalker. Now that's cinema. Embarrassing.
You need to be stopped.
Michael, I am the UPS man says get Basil out of here. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I'm out. He's the first cute creature that definitely got me out. But well,
Y'all
that's not
like
true.
the
Jar
creepy
Jar doesn't count.
ferret dog things in Ahsoka more than you like Basil, and that's saying something.
That's true.
I like ferret dog things. That's cool. Yeah, I did like those guys.
Loath cats.
No, he's talking about on Peridia. Remember the rat dog horses?
Oh, the ratas. I love those.
I mess with those. I mess with those boys heavy. They were great. Tony Basil. Okay, he says it's similar to.
This is gonna be a long stream.
I got a pre-screen. I got a pre-screen Up in Smoke after last week. Let's see. It's Visceral. Yeah. He's talking about Velma. I didn't watch Velma. I'm like exclusive to Star Wars. I watch Star Wars and then I do other stuff. That's about it. Someone asked me in the Discord. They said, "Hey, would you like this show if it wasn't Star Wars?" That's like his soapbox he keeps going back to, and I'm like, I don't know. It kind of reminded me of that clip that was like, if my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike, and it's like, it is Star Wars. So I don't know how to, it's Star Wars. I don't know what to say. Michael, please.
So there's a lot of shows I've made that complaint about, like the Obi-Wan series, for example, minus a few high points. Like, I don't think that show would have survived at all. Boba Fett, if it didn't have any sort of Star Wars tie-in, really wouldn't have gotten any attention. And there's a lot of sci-fi series out there that got one season and were awful. And there's a lot of sci-fi series out there that got one season and were fantastic. Look at you, Firefly. So I don't think that's necessarily the delineator of whether people watched it, whether it was good necessarily, but I don't know. I put this one higher. I think the highest example of that we have is like Andor, because Andor, it wouldn't matter what medium that is. Andor's fantastic. It could have been a medieval drama. It could have been space. It could be underwater. Who cares? Andor's awesome.
All right,
this
screw
one.
It. Let's
this
do
one's
it now. Rank these shows. How does this one rank in all the shows? Because I was gonna do it later, but the Force wills it. Let's do it. Let's do it this way. Michael, you rank it just under Andor?
Oh gosh, no. Are we ranking individual, like whole series as a whole, or
Yes.
Yeah.
or
It gets
seasons?
too hairy
Because
if you don't.
because like Mando season 1 to Mando season 3
know.
is so wild.
Rules
Yeah.
are rules. Can't break them if you never follow
All
them.
right.
No.
What are the series we're talking about? We're talking about Mando, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan,
Star Wars.
Boba Fett, Andor, and the Acolyte.
Acolyte would be a good one.
No, I'm saying that's all
We
of
Soup
them.
saw
in
Yeah.
there, maybe.
Missing something.
Shows.
We're not including cartoon series, Bad Batch, all that.
Brother, where does this one rate for you?
I
Just
want to know
broad
how many
strokes,
out of
man.
how many we're ranking. Come on.
Michael B
It's
needs time
middle
to
high,
think,
7.5 out of 10.
guys.
What do you want from me?
You need to, yeah, give him time to think about it.
All
We'll
right.
come back with a really like
At least give me a
educated.
full list of what we're ranking against one another, okay?
All of the Star Wars shows. How'd you
The
like this one?
live action Disney Plus series.
Sure, that's
That
acceptable. You can hell throw animation in there. I'm just looking.
That makes
for
it
an
harder.
answer.
He just wants you to say something.
All right. Give me a minute to type up my list, put them in order.
All right, Andy's or Reba
feel
says
the
just
force
live
flow.
action. Just live action. So just live action is what we'll go with because Reba spoke. She has spoken. All right, Andy, go.
It ranks third for me because I think Andor was my favorite. Well, it was like the most impressive. My favorite, so like tied number 2 is The Mandalorian because season 1 and 2 is what kind of got me into all this stuff. And then this show, number 3-ish.
Excellent. Well done.
So people hated Rise of Skywalker because they're wrong.
That's for you.
take my
Taylor,
gold
your
star.
turn.
I think it's my number 2. Just because, I mean, Andor is obviously my number 1. Fantastic show. The reason this one is my number 2 is what I talked about a little bit last week about how this feels like the first show because it's set during a different time that I could really just sit back and enjoy as a viewer and not have all this lore and knowledge in my head that I was then thinking about and trying to fit into or have the shows fit into the lore. So I really enjoyed being able to just sit back and enjoy being exposed to new characters, new planets, new everything, and just kind of be along for the ride. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, I agree with you, Taylor, 100%. For me, it is number 2. It's Andor, way up at the top in the stratosphere. And then this is second because while I understand The Mandalorian probably scratched the itch for the OT fans and, the people that grew up with that era of Star Wars, this one for me is just like a lot of the stuff that I wanted. You get a lot of Jedi, you get a lot of Force, a lot of philosophy, and the lightsaber combat was great. It was awesome. It was the most prequel-esque thing we've seen in a long time, and that's why I put it firmly in number 2, with other shows hanging around behind it in 3 and down. Michael, have you had enough time, or do you need more?
I think so. I'm still going to be a
All
little
right.
more on the fence than you guys. Andor's at the
No,
top.
that's fine.
Mando, at least currently, is second for me, even though season 3 really weighed it down. I can't pick between Obi-Wan and Acolyte because they both have things I really love and they both have things that I really didn't love, but I think Acolyte has the potential of being number 3. I think Acolyte has the potential of being my number 2. It just depends on if it gets another season. If this is all we ever get with Acolyte, it's going to be rough for me to say it beats out even Obi-Wan because at least Obi-Wan, I had so much nostalgia tied to it.
Fair enough.
This one had a lot of references to the books, but it didn't really do all the like book fan service stuff that I really wanted. It kind of just like nods and teases and really didn't do a whole lot. So if this ends where it is, it's going to be lower.
Same universe.
Yeah, but it has potential to be number 2 for me if it goes better.
sure.
And I feel really bad, like you said, Andor's so high up there, and then the rest of these are like really crammed together because I got Ahsoka and then Boba Fett, and I didn't hate Ahsoka, and I don't dislike Boba Fett nearly as much as other people did. I actually really enjoy a rewatch of it. It's kind of fun as long as you know what it is. It was more disappointing than it is bad as a whole, I think.
Stick around on Program Community because we are going to do that for all of these shows. We're going to rewatch all of them and we're going to talk about them with the benefit of hindsight because the internet is a wild place. And very excited to see what we think now that the dust has settled. That's the way it was for Obi-Wan. Like, I mean, the highs were stratospheric and the lows were like, whoa, and then you mix in some internet discourse and some out of pocket things going on. To Andy's point, like it made it hard to know whether or not you were defending it because the internet or hating it because the internet, like undue criticism, all that sort of stuff. It was just So it's nice to take some time and rewatch it and get to see. All right, I want to catch up on chat and then we're gonna get into the synopsis like we should have done an hour ago. So okay, so Todd McDanger. I couldn't find the button. Just imagine. Yeah.
We get it.
He says, yeah, it's great. It's the best thing the show has going. Let's not ruin it.
They'll never use it.
Basil has 5 random behaviors: 1 sniff, 2 dance, 3 sabotage, 4 stomp attack, hump.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Incredible moves.
I am the UPS man, Mikey D. Miss you. Andor still sits on the top for live action for me, and then the first half of Mando, Acolyte, and then the rest of the live action. Yeah, I think that's fair. And Travis is second guessing himself. Never second guess yourself, Travis. When you've made a decision, stand on it. First thought, best thought, always. Okay, Michael, do you have a synopsis, or are we just going to go off of my robust notes that I did because I'm a competent host that's finally getting his poop in a group?
I don't. But we can hit the high notes of the Wikipedia synopsis without reading the description. I can just kind of go point by point. Sarah, is there anything we want to talk about here? So let's maybe do this even higher level than before and see how bad this is. I'll try to keep us on track.
All right. Let's do it. Let's start at the beginning. In the beginning.
Okay. So the episode starts with a vision. So Osha has a vision. She's got the helmet on. There's some dark side cave stuff going on, and then she starts doing a dance, and Kamir's like, let me get that thing off of her. This is not going well.
Oh yeah, that was so
I already have
weird.
questions,
right?
And
so many
hello,
questions.
Like... I'll just explode. Okay.
This episode is going to be long. Buckle up, kids. I'm ready to be here all night. I don't know if you and your phones are, but we're
my headset's going to die. I'm going to need a
while.
charger and cable at some point.
We all just
I'm ruined camera frames too. Look at this. All right, go ahead, Andy. Keep talking.
Dude, why did his eyes go black? Because was that something that he did to her or she did to him?
I think she did.
He
to
looked
him.
confused.
And I was going to say, and I complained to my Michael. I was like, why does he have witch powers? He's a man. He's just a stinking man. Why does he have the powers of the witches? And I just realized just now that it maybe wasn't him at all.
No.
So I thought in the moment, when it happened, I thought he was trying to take it off and somebody external was trying to stop him. And now that we know, what we know about Plagueis being there, I thought maybe Plagueis was like, no, I want to see how this plays out, and was stopping him from doing it. But I didn't really think about the fact that his eyes turned black, so they really could have just been like a rebound effect from Osha, because he's clearly recognized Osha is more powerful than May. Osha just doesn't know. She's so imbalanced, she hasn't been able to use her powers.
Anybody play KOTOR 2? Anybody in the house play KOTOR 2?
Nah.
Michael's a no, right? You haven't, right, Michael?
I've played like an hour or two of it, but I could never get a stable version running on PC. So no.
Right. Okay. So
Michael, my Michael's out of pocket.
Black eyes are the same as the twink Padawan.
That's a child. That's a child, babe. Settle. I don't think he's a twink. I think he's a baby.
Oh gosh. Okay. So KOTOR 2 features a character, the playable character, Mitra Surik. Light spoilers for a 15-year-old game inbound. This person involuntarily, and then also by order of the Jedi Council, shuts themselves off from the Force. They are a wound in the Force. They have gone through horrible things, and that's why they cut themselves off from the Force, because they can't bear to feel this pain. And I think that's a lot of what Osha has done. Like, they're trying to suppress her emotions. She's ended up suppressing her connection to the Force, and this mask forces it back, and it comes back like an avalanche. it overwhelms her, and it overwhelms Chimera. He's blown away. He tries to like, oh, I'll fix this, and then she just dominates his mind. It's a different vibe, but the same sort of idea as like when Kylo tries to mess with Rey, and then Rey, pushes back. But I think this one, she's not trying. It's just an overwhelming avalanche of
Mary Sue,
dark side.
Mary Sue, she's a Mary Sue.
Yeah, she's made by the Force. Okay, she's literally
The
dark side
merriest of
Jesus.
Sues, the merriest.
Yeah,
Well,
the merriest.
and it feeds into one of my points for later, but it's still relevant. I feel like I know that happened on screen and I totally missed it, obviously, but I feel like they kind of glossed past her grief and her power, because I was expecting some really big reveal for why she left the order, and she's just kind of like, I was sad and I had a lot of grief and couldn't
Yeah.
get past it. I wanted
Well,
to know a big thing, and I wanted to see her like really, I guess, I don't know. It went past me.
I feel like I feel like it's almost better this way though, because it shows the flaws of the Jedi and how they can't help people move past this sort of stuff. And again, it reminds me of KOTOR 2 and Mitra Surik, where it's like you are. She was kicked out of the order. She was exiled from the order because of this. Yes, Michael.
You didn't have to stop in the middle of your statement. We've talked about this before. The Rise of the Red Blade, very similar to what's her face, and just the kind of platitudes that were thrown in her face. And we saw that in the beginning, in the first episode or two, when Sol reunites with Osha, and he's just like, oh, you just got to get over that stuff. That's really the only thing that's holding me back. Just get over it. Have you tried just getting over it?
There's more
Jedi
to
therapist
say about that. Yeah.
would
Especially
make
at
a
the
killer.
end. Oh, yeah. Like if they're actually able to use it for good instead of just like rooting around in somebody's brain to figure out, where the widget is, and they actually like cared about people more than they seem to do. Yeah, 100%. Andy, I cut you off. Sorry.
Did you?
I thought I did. Sounded like it. You were talking,
Maybe.
but I guess maybe you
I was
just yapping.
Maybe it was Michael. Speaking Japanese over here.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, so I want to talk about Osha's vision though. When they pull the helmet off, you see the red lightsaber in her eyes, right? So I have written here, is Osha's vision accurate, but she changes the future, or is she pulling a soul and mixing herself up with May, right? Like is she like
Nah, I think
just,
she
I don't
she just saw herself and thought it was May.
That's how I took it.
Yeah, that was interesting. Or further, I put, is she saving? So a side note here, I tried to do speech to text for these notes, and autocorrect is just unbearable with Star Wars. This note, it says, "Is she saving me from that future by doing it herself?" She's saving May from that future by doing it herself. That's what I was wondering. It's like she sees May doing this. She
That
knows
could be really cool.
It's
if-
May,
if
and so
they
she decides
just-
to do that.
Yeah, if they actually explore that in season 2, that she was going that far intentionally, but that's a lot to go, including like bleeding the crystal and everything. Like that's a lot.
I mean, again, maybe she feels like this is her cross to bear, and not his, or not hers. I don't know. One of the other things before we leave the topic of masks, I had said that Sith masks have this effect in the past: overwhelming connections to the Force, possession of unsuspecting people when they wear them. Famously, the mask of Viceroy Exum Panchard, pour one out to what would have been a great theory if it had been realized.
Somebody else said,
alas.
Somebody else actually said after watching this episode, they're like, "Oh, I think you were right," because that's actually kind of what happened, and it is possible, like anybody who wears the mask gets sort of possessed to some degree, especially if Chimera was already sort of Sith inclined or dark side inclined. We wouldn't have seen as much of a personality difference with him taking it off, but with her, we definitely saw a significant change. So I don't know. It's possible there was still more to pull on that thread, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, because we saw the eye holes. That it's kind of stupid, but like that mask had glass eyes, and this one clearly has no eye holes. They're just see-through. So
I feel
don't know,
like
man.
they could have retconned that detail if they
They
really
can.
wanted to.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's not a big deal. I mean, clearly the helmet's
They-
been through some stuff.
right. maybe the glass eye holes were a retrofit, because Soul stuck his fingies through there. He was like, I gotta learn. I gotta improve.
Yo, you see
Mark
who just
II.
hopped in the chat?
No, who's in the chat? I'm way behind on the chat. I see Michael
Up,
talking
Dylan?
about twink Padawans.
Oh gosh.
Reba agreeing, which is a twist I did not see. Travis saying Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I don't know how that connects. I'm so lost. But
You were
I'm
talking
sure it
about
does.
Pro Tour.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate you. Okay, I'm skipping all the Torben Twink discussion.
Good idea.
Yeah. Up in Smoke's mask is only for sensory deprivation. I'm certain that it is. Oh, hey, Dylan's here. What up, Dylan?
Took you a while.
Wait for it.
Wait for it.
Welcome, Dylan. Glad to have you here. Dylan, as has been previously stated, is associate of the Records of the Republic Star Wars podcast. A great time. Excited to hear that new episode you guys just dropped, where y'all are talking about the Acolyte. See if there's an overlap there. Moving on. The next scene we get, smash cut back to May, strapped in the medical bed, and Soul is starting to have that conversation. This scene disappointed me greatly because I thought that last week was the story that he was telling him, right? I thought that was the story that Soul was telling May, but it turns out that it wasn't. It was just
He didn't
for
even
us
say
a
the
different
story.
perspective. Yeah, so that thoroughly
agreed.
disappointing. I mean, again, I don't complain too much about the show. I've been generally having a good time, but that really did kind of eat my lunch a little bit. Did not really like it. Dylan, you're a sweetie. Michael, that's great. Why is that shocking? Okay, yeah, no, all right. Reba's an ally. Okay. Let's move on. This is off the rails, man. Let me hit myself with a. I was disappointed. I thought we were gonna get. He had 16 years to say the same thing he's been saying. That I didn't mean to. It was the right thing to do. You were in danger, but also I had to keep it secret. Also, you can tase me now. It was disappointing and not his finest hour. But again, this whole last couple episodes haven't been his finest hour. I think he's really slipping, and that line Vernestra says later, I think applies to him, even though it was used as a cover-up. It applies to him a good bit, especially in this episode, and it also applies to Vernestra, but we'll get there. Okay, so after that, we talk about May. I have here that May is 100% correct, and then it says correct again. So again, speech to text is a nightmare. But when she says,
we
if
do
you
that
did
weird
the right
thing with
thing,
Basil,
why didn't
though.
you tell the Jedi? What?
Oh, sorry. I thought you'd moved further. Never mind.
No, like why didn't you tell her? She just calls him out like very effectively, very succinctly. She's like, he spins this whole yarn. He's like, well, if that was the right thing to do, why the deception? But yeah. So okay. So what do you want to talk about, Basil? My note here says, "What the hell is even Basil?"
Yeah, because then so she runs off and she takes the escape pod, which is the escape ship, because they have to call it something different. And then he goes and he jettisons the other half of the ship, because this ship just has endless ships inside the ships. And Basil's there with him, and he's like trying to run her down. And I'm not really sure what the message is, because this is like the third time we've seen Soul like going too far. And then Basil's like, whoa, stop, and rips the cables out, and they crash together. But the weird thing is, like, Basil's a sentient being, and Soul has ignored him this entire time. It's so weird. Like, imagine there's like a Wookiee here, and you're just like, don't even acknowledge that it exists. It's funny because like he's treating this creature like he's a creature, like a subhuman animal thing, and like Yord is like having full on conversations with him a few episodes ago. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like the writers didn't know. Forgot that this thing could talk.
That's it,
I kept
right? Like
forgetting.
Go ahead, Andy.
I think it was kind of funny as the viewer that I too kept forgetting he was on the ship. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's that guy.
He is everywhere, dude. He is
Well, Saul didn't
everywhere,
even
and you never
bother.
want him anywhere.
He's a civilian. First of all, he's a civilian, right? He's wearing the civilian robes. And second of all, like, Saul is so obsessed with get the civilian to the ship, right? Doesn't even spare a
Is he
thought
a
for Basil. Where's
Is he a
their
contractor,
tracker?
though?
Yeah, where is the tracker? Where did he go? Oh, he's on the ship. Cool, great, glad. Was wondering where the other civilian we brought with us on this endeavor went. Like, nah, whatever. He's been paid. He doesn't matter. It's just so weird. Like, the writers forgot to treat this thing
This
as
is
an
the thing.
equal sentient life form.
I want to get this out. I have an actual thought on this because, again, like, it's odd because so many other things the internet says, oh, there's a fire in space, or this, that, and the other. All these, like, massive outrage things. They're either nothing burgers, or if you actually watch the show, they're explained and they make sense, right? But so that precedent is there. So I watch this, again, like, the show is, if you're paying attention, it makes sense, and even the surprises are apparent, right? And so, what the hell is even Basil? I'm watching. Are we missing it? Or I want to give them benefit of the doubt and be like, they wrote this here for a reason. But Basil really is like the thing that just I just don't get it.
He could have been replaced by a droid,
Yeah.
like a standard astromech droid, and everything that's happening would make more sense.
But then he
How about
wouldn't
just a probe droid,
exist.
like a probe droid tracking
And that's
droid?
okay.
Because like that would be cool that they have like tracking probe droids, because those are kind of illegal for
like
everyone to use.
little
Like, that'd be cool, interesting.
little
Yeah,
dog-shaped
right?
robots, so like we can all
That
love it.
sure,
Michael can say
that
it's
sure.
This is what we
stupid.
all want to see.
Tie-in
We all
live
wanna
action
see-
Batcher? No?
We all want to see more aliens in Star Wars. Y'all say that all the time. You don't want these boring ass humans and droids everywhere.
Not like
The
that.
problem is,
And then they
we
give
don't
you
want to
one.
see.
They
No,
give you
no.
one, and y'all don't like a single thing about him, and y'all are
The
like,
problem is they're not
he looks
treating
like
him like a
gopher.
Wookiee.
What the
They're
hell's
not
wrong
treating him
with
like a Wookiee or
gophers?
like a Twi'lek or like another sentient alien species that just doesn't speak, basic.
Right.
They're treating him
You
like an
just-
animal, and it's weird.
Yeah.
I do think that is weird too. But lay off
It's
the
like
Basil shouldn't
Jedi
even
slavery,
exist
okay?
train.
It's weird.
Soul's like,
I'm the least racist person in the world. My best friend, when I was 6 years old, was a black man.
my best friend was a gopher when I was very young. I'm not racist at all. I don't get it.
It's like I
don't
watch
get it.
Caddyshack on repeat.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Todd McDanger asks are the show writers actually trolling us? That's a very good question. In this sense, I don't know. Michael says Basil is the Jar Jar of this show. Agreed. Reba says, I thought they brought Basil as a tracker, but it seems like he's on Jedi payroll long term. Yeah, he's on retainer.
I said that.
Yep, exactly. Dylan says Basil could have been better used. I think we all agree on that. Better used.
Even Fern
as
is like,
a bench warmer.
take the tracker with you. Like he's not a human or like a
What's his
living
name?
being.
Yeah, say his name.
Take the freaking Gazorpazorp over there. Yeah, make sure you bring him along. My favorite character in Rise of Skywalker is a Muppet driving Lando around on Pisana, whose only line was "Okay." Yeah, that's right. Travis loves the Muppets, and look, some of these little aliens are a lot of fun. I'm not usually this guy, but Basil really wears me out. Have we beaten the Basil horse, or do we need to? Is there anything else we want to say before we move on?
We good.
All right.
I've heard criticisms that people think that Pip is plot sentient and telepathic and can just predict whatever the plot needs and just does it, regardless of
Pip-
having memory wiped. And
I'll
I
be
think that's a
a
fair criticism, but that's
I'll
also
be a
every
Pip
droid in
hater.
Star Wars.
Yeah,
I
I'll
don't
be a Pip hater.
I think he's a droid shaped Swiss Army knife that does whatever the plot needs him to do at any given moment,
Yeah.
and a lot of times without prompting, he just like by his own will does things, and I think that's fair. That is,
You're gonna hate
again,
R2D2. He's
I know, no, I
he's gonna
agree.
Bother the shit out of you.
I agree. I think R2D2 does the same thing, but it's a little bit more annoying when the thing doesn't even have legs of its own. It can't even.
You remember when
move.
he
It's
just
like-
invented jetpacks? He just conjured
Yeah,
jetpacks.
just like
in
you
his
know,
leg.
they can fly now. They fly now. They fly now.
Here's the other thing, though. The other difference is I was pretty sure May essentially like factory reset Pip, right?
Right.
So the thing with
Yeah.
R2 is that he's like hasn't had a
Yes.
memory wipe in forever.
That's
So he's
why
had a
he's
lot of
so
time.
good.
Exactly. That's why he is, and why I think he can get away with a lot of the stuff that a random
That's his
droid that was factory
personality.
reset.
It's not that he's like, you know, I always took it as that's where his personality comes from and his quasi sentience, not his effectiveness. I would feel like droids are meant to be effective. Maybe they're even more effective when you reset them to factory settings. Like maybe
I mean,
you know,
maybe, but
the
maybe, but
predictive, behaviors and
experience
things.
and experience absolutely lends to being effective.
In my book, experience is everything.
Also,
think
I'd
that
just like
means
to
I
point out
outrank
Dylan
you.
said the whole family's watching tonight. So
Oh,
shout out to Kay and the kids.
that's something that I should bear in mind. Thank you, Dylan, for that information. Yeah. Sorry in advance. I'm gonna do my best. Okay. All right. Yeah, I had notes. I got notes. What of it? Okay. So the ship, right, going into the rings, visually, that was awesome. That was really, really cool. I liked it a lot. It kind of gave Andor, the sort of the event on, I think it was Aldani, right? The big celestial happening there. But just flying through the rings was great. And also I love the metaphor of, it's like the sort of colonialism that's happened this whole time, where like May's ship flies right through the ring. She's at home there. Don't smirk at me. Don't smirk at me. Hear my point before you make that face, big boy. You do that. No, it's like she's at home there. She's natural. She's familiar with the environment. And then Soul is just like, screw it. And he just barges in, breaks everything up, and destroys and leaves chaos in his wake and crashes everything. It's almost like when what? It's almost like when when he walked into this clearing earlier and the two birds were right there, and then they went separate directions because Soul entered the scene. I know it's probably all just stuff I'm reading way into and not not symbolism at all, but
And that's a metaphor for colonialism. All right, yeah.
I mean,
no.
I mean, they did
if you're
barge
right,
in
Ed,
on
you're right.
Brendock and destroy her life.
no, I'm pulling it out of my my
the 8-year-old is just super familiar with driving an escape pod through the planet rings. That's just her home. She's at one with those rings.
Have you ever heard of there's text, right? Text is and then there's subtext, like themes that
Have you ever heard
are,
of this concept? It's called reaching. It's reaching. It's the concept. It's way up here. Oh, I got it.
I'm so sorry that you only see that which is immediately in front of you. The forest for the trees. It's a sad reality, but it's yours, and I'm empathetic with that position. I'm sorry. On program. We really are an old married couple. We really are. All right, fine. I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back around. If that doesn't land for you guys, I said I like the old school starbird on her helmet. That was kind of interesting. Wonder how it got there. Wonder what the significance is. And then also, yeah, right. I want to talk about Mog. Mog, if that's how I pronounce his name. I'm also a certified Mog hater. I don't like that dude. He's annoying.
Yeah.
I really don't like I don't like him at all.
We're united, I think.
Is he
For
like
once, I
an
actually
aide
don't
or
mind him.
something? He's
What's
like
that?
an aide, and he's just like an incompetent Jedi. That's just we just want to make sure that we know that the Jedi encompass the full spectrum of people who are like actually good with the Force and people who just like the Sabines of the galaxy. You just got here.
What has he been doing this whole time? I mean, my gosh, man, that was
like his
spreading
hair,
rumors
for sure.
about-
like the way
about
I said,
Vern's
like, he had a bump
stomach
it.
issues.
His hair was so tall.
yeah. I don't.
Listen, he's fabulous. We should leave him alone.
I don't mind him.
Taylor, defend yourself, please.
I mean, there's not much to defend. I just I don't mind him that much. Yeah, he's
I
he's
put-
bumbling.
Taylor loves Mog, confirmed.
Look,
Well, let's see if
I'm
there's
messing
shirtless
with you.
pictures of that actor.
Oh, shut up.
Oh my god. Oh, that was out of pocket. That was out of pocket. Next, you're gonna say she's like picking up on things that aren't there. Do you see Mog's character
Yeah.
analysis in the room
Like-
now, Taylor?
Oh,
I'm just saying,
Next, you're
I
gonna
was fine
say-
last week when he wasn't here.
Next, you're gonna say that the Return of the Jedi is actually like loosely inspired by real world events, like some kind of goofball. Hey, I don't know what to do with this, but Up in Smoke says that analysis of Soul was actually pretty good.
I think he's
So
talking about Travis's comment.
I don't know who he's talking about, but I'm gonna choose it that he's talking about me because this is my show and Prime Day
I mean, that too.
just happened. So yeah, you take your allies where you can get them. Okay, yes, Reba, we're talking about the very British-looking Jedi. Yeah, he's the biggest Brit to have ever Brited on screen.
I was just
100%.
saying, I don't hate him.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
I like
I'm
him
sorry,
more
like,
than Basil. I'm sorry, Andy.
We're riffing tonight. All the claws are out tonight, so we're having a good time. Your
It's a really low
non-hatred of
bar.
Mog is valid.
I
Yeah.
don't like Basil that much, so it's a very low bar. It's not saying much about how much I
So
like Mog.
do you like Mog more than you didn't care about Jackie dying? That's the real question.
no, she did not say that. No. Jackie
Ed
is
made
still
it a
my
whole
favorite
clip.
character in this whole series. Jackie is the best.
Jackie is
Ed
the
made
best.
it a whole clip on its own.
Yeah, I edited it.
It was great.
Thanks for not watching it.
I was gonna say.
Your clips are still 10 minutes long. Your clips of this show are as long as our old entire podcast used to be.
We were talking about Clone Wars, okay?
Oh
Come
my
on.
gosh.
This is-
Anyway,
we're helping people get through their long night shift wherever they're working on a Friday instead of having fun. That's what we're
Yeah, I was
doing.
gonna say, imagine having plans on a Friday night.
Couldn't be Star Wars fans. Could not be Star Wars fans. All right, little self-deprecation there. That's what we do. I say Mog is so annoying, and then the next thing I say is Senator Raincourt is awesome and totally correct.
Yes.
mhm.
And
Senator
I have-
Raincourt based.
I have
Annie.
notes.
Notes
Yes.
dish. Michael, you can hold your notes and tell us how we're all reading into this too much. Go ahead.
Zip your lips, because when you're looking up to heroes, you don't have to face what's right in front of you. Mic drop. Like, wow. Loved it. That's all I had to say.
No, that I had that written down here as well. Yep, 100%.
Because I mean, he sees the world in 5D. Like he knows what's going on.
I mean, you don't even have to be clairvoyant, you know? Like you can put the problems of the day on other people, and again, reading too much into it, I mean, it maps onto life. Like you can very easily do that, just like all the charismatic figure will solve this, or the supernatural, whatever, this, that, and the third. Like it's a very, I like that quote a lot. But now, Michael,
Yes.
you did raise your hand, and I apologize. Go ahead, tell me what you're thinking.
Am I unzipping my lip now? We good?
Hey,
I'll allow
she
it.
zipped you. I didn't zip you. So
I agree, guys. It's fine. I think he's right. Obviously, the Jedi do need oversight because it's weird. But he said something that was really funny in the moment. I think even Hannah and I both laughed about this. He's like, yeah, the Jedi are just, they're so powerful. One of you could turn bad, and that will be really bad for everybody. And we're just waiting for that to happen. That could happen at any point, and something bad could happen if one of you turned bad. And I'm like, oh, why now and not any time in the last 25,000 years of Jedi history are we worried about that all of a sudden today? I was like, this is a fair argument and complaint, but like, what has spawned this particular issue now? There's some murders and things going on, but he didn't seem like he was even really aware of that before he was already like oversight of the Jedi. So I'm worried that you guys are really digging this too much and maybe missing that he may be the start of Plagueis's interfering with the council and with the Senate and with the Republic, and trying to like really intertwine the Jedi with more and more politics by putting basically congressional oversight over the Jedi, when the Jedi should be and kind of need to be separate from the whims of the Senate, because as we've seen, that is not really a good thing from a lot of perspectives when the Senate's like, oh, no, we don't want the Jedi to go here. We don't think the Jedi should be going here, or vice versa, back and forth. I have joked, though, being that there will have to be some sort of reconciliation, because the Jedi don't have like arrest authority. They rely on the Republic to incarcerate people and then take them to jail. And then they can interrogate them, but like they're not the ones that are arresting them for breaking the law. They just they're almost like citizens arrest kind of a thing. I want to see an entire series dedicated to like Jedi law and order, the people who have to, like, maybe even a tongue-in-cheek kind
That's
of
a good
thing.
sound effect. I need to get that one.
Right. Yeah. Oh, you have to,
Dong, dong.
where they like have to litigate all the times when the Jedi randomly destroy property or like mind trick somebody into changing their life, and they end up like way worse than selling death sticks or something. Like, I don't know. There's all sorts of random stuff. There was a similar series, I can't remember now, about like random people in the world of Superman and Batman and all that stuff, and they were just kind of dealing with the fallouts of what they do, and it was kind of a funny parody show. So anyway, all that to say, I don't think the Jedi being beholden to the Senate is a good thing, even though in this case, obviously they do need some oversight because it's bad. But I'm wondering if you guys are taking that interesting and missing that like Plagueis could totally be behind this entirely.
Just because it's a theme song don't mean it's not true. So look, this is my point, is there's nuance to all of this stuff, right? What he is saying is completely correct. To your point, they should not be an arm of the Senate. They should also not be doing stuff that should make them justifiably be an arm of the Senate. So it's just like how in the Clone Wars, the Jedi are the good guys. We're rooting for them. We see more good in them than the Sith, of course. But like they have lost their way, and it's fair to critique that. And people who have evil intentions can certainly use valid criticisms to, speed up the snowball. There's no doubt about that. I don't know if he has evil intent or not, but at the end of the day, what the Jedi are doing in a lot of ways is problematic and does leave themselves open to rot from within or without. And to Taylor's point in the Discord this week, we were talking about Legends. Like Legends Luke got that. He was very much like, yeah, that's so stupid. Why wouldn't you let them marry? Like, that's crazy.
Yes. And I loved the comment he made. I didn't write it down, but something about how the Jedi claim to control something they can't control, and she's like, we don't control the Force, and he says, no, your emotions. And I've been saying this.
I thought that was
start.
fantastic.
As soon as I got into Star Wars, I was like, wait, why are we pretending that that's something that people can do? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I love that this character is in this show because he says these things, and then we see Vernestra. We see her lie. It just ties in beautifully the bow of this mess made by Soul and his fellow Jedi. So, like, I only wish that we had seen Rain Court sooner.
Yes.
That's one criticism that I have, because
100%.
a show like Andor, where you do have these multiple like plots going on, you do dip in and you get to see them in an extended period of time. In Rain Court, they did mention him,
but not have
They mentioned him.
He's mentioned throughout the season, though. I'm with you, Andy. I think it would be good to have him there if he's going to play a major role. But it's possible they only wrote him more as like a season 2 antagonist kind of a thing. Like it might
Travis,
have been.
it
might be.
It was from Community. It was from Community.
I don't know. I liked him a lot, and I liked his points, and I felt like somebody was finally talking about what has been like at the back of my mind this whole time of like, well, the Jedi can't control their emotions, and I loved learning about Legends Luke and the changes that he made.
They're not
Literally
supposed
brings me back
to
to
control
the
their
Jedi need
emotions. They're
therapists.
supposed to feel them and understand them and let them go. So much
I don't
about
know though. Are they supposed to feel anger though? Are they
That's
supposed
it.
to?
They're not.
Listen, read the High
not.
Republic books. Ed, read the latest one, The Temptations of the Force. It's really interesting. Some conversations
next.
about this stuff.
We'll have
Really
to do a
interesting
book club on it, too.
what the Jedi really think about love and feelings and attachments and anger and how they're supposed to be using their emotions because remember, they always say that, like, they're like, be present in the moment and feel your emotions and stuff like that. Like, they're always talking about their emotions, but then at the same time we see all these Jedi trying to ignore them and press them away and not feel them.
But doesn't
And some of the later books have really talked about a much more sort of obvious way of, like, you have to feel that you have that. You can't let it control you, but you're not necessarily controlling it either. You're just accepting that you have these emotions and not letting them be the deciding factor. Like, you need to know,
Well,
I'm afraid,
well,
but you don't need to be like, no, I don't feel fear. Fear's not real. There's no such thing. And then it just grows in the background. They're like, no, I'm afraid. Okay, great. What do I do with that? How do I move on? How do I accept that and let it go? And that's
I
become a
love that.
very, yeah.
I love that
Andy has a thing.
analysis, but the code is there is no emotion, there is peace. Like
Has that been canonized again?
Yes.
yes,
Multiple
yes.
times.
And doesn't Yoda say that? What's his quote? Like, anger leads to hate, hate leads to the dark side. Like, the hello. If you're teaching that to children, that says don't feel your anger or you will be the evil villain. That does not teach feel your anger and let it go at all. But I'm glad that the High Republic book maybe did have that. It definitely withered away, at least
They've
from what
talked
I
more
can tell.
about just because we've really only been following, like, the main core Jedi. We don't really get to see how the average Jedi really deal with this because, of course, the average Jedi deal with fear and anger and hate and love and affection and attachment and all this stuff, and it's very interesting. Go ahead, Taylor.
Thank you.
Wait, that's
Revenge of
my
the
line.
Sith.
Go ahead, Taylor.
Revenge of the Sith, Yoda tells, like, right, Anakin goes to Yoda, tells him about the dreams, blah, blah, blah. And Yoda says, train yourself to let go of the things that you fear to lose. So he doesn't say you shouldn't feel fear. He's acknowledging his fear exists, and then he's saying you need to work through it. So obviously, I think I don't even know how to
Having
say
your
it, but I
children
think it's
repeat
misapplied.
fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, blah blah blah. Like, these platitudes does not mean that, but
Exactly.
nobody has fear. It just means fear is a path
Exactly.
to the dark side. It doesn't mean that you don't have fear and you don't understand fear, and we have to pretend like no one has fear because, oh my gosh. But it does make sense how, if you just keep repeating that people could misinterpret it. That you could sort of attach yourself to that as a Jedi going through this and be like, no, 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 I can't have fear. And to the point where now that actually is more of a problem than if you just accepted that you're afraid and then understood it and let it go and did something about it.
Well, and the way the structure is organized, that's then going to be passed down from master to Padawan to Padawan to Padawan. Like,
Yeah.
the way it just, a couple people misunderstand it or, are taught it the wrong way, and then it just trickles down throughout the whole order. So
Leave it to Yoda
especially
to
when
teach somebody
Yoda's
something backwards.
when Yoda's yeah, good one. When Yoda's giving the advice of, let go of everything you fear to lose. Like, Anakin wasn't being totally forthright in that moment, but that's his wife. You know what I mean? Like, again, the Jedi had that rule, but this is just categorically bad advice. I mean, it's just like, let it go, man. Let it, just be. Again, I understand that
happy.
We could
Yoda.
off program a little bit about this if we want to talk about Avatar, because Avatar has this same thing with Aang and Katara, but
Yeah.
we didn't have to go that far. But they talk about it too. It's very interesting.
You get 90 seconds. Go. I like Avatar, so just if you can.
Well,
if
the
you
same
can do
thing
it quickly,
happens. They
go.
talk about how the Avatar, the Jedi of this universe, can't have these attachments to be fully selfless and helping the world and be the hero it needs. And Aang struggles with that because he's a child and he has a crush on this girl and he really loves this girl, and he's like, well, I can't let go of her. I can't not love people, because loving people means loving her, and it's all connected. But what happens is he ends up blocked. He can't use his powers because he ends up so obsessed with not letting go of her. And eventually what happens is, in order for him to move on, he has to accept the fact that he doesn't have control over her. She may go, and he can't let that ruin his entire life. Doesn't mean he doesn't still love her, but he has to learn to be able to let go of her and let go of the fact that he's not in control. He doesn't possess this person, and it's not all about him and his attachment to this person. So they don't really
Brilliant.
explain it in depth, but they visualize it really interestingly to show, like, he gets to a point, he's like, I have to like grow up, and I can't just let this one thing be the thing that rules my life. And he basically has his opposite Anakin moment where Anakin doubles down on the attachment. Aang has to do the opposite. He goes, you know what? I have to let go of her. It doesn't mean he doesn't stop. He still marries her and has a bunch of kids with her. Like, it's not that he stopped loving her, but he stopped being so attached to her that it was impeding his
Thank
it was
you. Love
impeding his
versus
ability
possession.
to actually do what he needed to do.
And this is why Legends Luke is superior.
Well, correct. Yeah, I really enjoy Legends Luke a lot. I'm with you, Taylor. It's not an either or thing for me, but it's fine. Andy, can you do me a favor and turn your iPad speakers down just a little bit? It's echoing. The other thing I would say is that's brilliant analysis, Michael. You're exactly right. But it's not like the thing that frustrates me, and I think would frustrate Senator Raincourt, whether or not he's a Sith. If you take a look at his, his words on face value, it's like there's a religion that is giving vague information that once their, practitioners do bad things or it manifests in negative ways, then there are apologists that can say, well, what I actually meant was this. They were misinterpreted and all this, that, and the third. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, you've got superpowered people that are unregulated, and you think you'd fix the curriculum a little bit to better clarify.
It's General Ross over here wants to put a leash on the Avengers.
You have just no capacity for nuance, do you? It is
Clearly,
I'm
lacking all nuance. That's what it is. I'm just no. Ed's the villain of every superhero story.
He's poking fun. We're having a good time. Okay. Let's catch up on chat here. Up in Smoke says prequels did a great job of exploring the rise of Palpatine. Agreed. The Jedi Council lacks diversity. I don't know if that's true. They got some aliens. They got more aliens than most of the new TV shows. So there's that. Yoda's his favorite character. That's fair. That's fair. Okay, let's move on. We've spent a lot of time on that, and I think it's fair. But after that, after that conversation, you get to Vernestra talking on the phone to somebody. We don't know who it is. But who is she talking to surreptitiously, and why did they sound so much like Palpatine, even though I'm sure they're not Palpatine?
That's what I said. I had to play it
Yep.
back.
Yeah, humans don't live that long. It can't be Palpatine, but man,
Could he be doing a
sounded like
dark side
Palpatine.
Sithy thing though?
Maybe.
There's
That
really no reason
potential?
Palpatine
I
couldn't
don't
be a
know.
lot older than we thought he was.
I know.
Everybody lives
guess.
long time now, Ed. Don't you know?
That's true.
Somehow he returns. So
Age ain't nothing but a number.
I thought that she's just trying to get a hold of Yoda, though, isn't she? I might have to rewatch that part. I don't remember that.
It could be Yoda.
Oh man,
feel
that
like
Coruscanti accent,
I feel like she'd have his cell phone. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, but maybe. I thought I took it as someone like outside of the Jedi, but maybe I'm
yeah, it was weird.
reading too much into
It was
I don't know.
sketchy.
You reaching.
I'm reaching. Let's see. So that's one thing I wanted to say. When we get back to Brendok, we go there and you see Sol walking up on the scene. It's interesting the differences between the way they show Sol having a memory when he sees the location, and Vernestra, another Jedi, using psychometry, right? Like it was very cool to see the slight differences. We're like, no, Sol has been there. He's not using psychometry, but like Vernestra is later on. That was pretty neat to see.
I don't like that every Jedi has psychometry now, though.
See, but that's what I just said, is that I feel like they don't all have psychometry. Like, okay. I'm pretty sure Vernestra is still fairly unique in that perspective, because like Ahsoka and Vernestra. So maybe we could say
Ahsoka
and Dara had it too.
Jedi. There's a handful. I'm not denying that there's a handful, but
It's just when
every
it becomes like an identifiable
Quinlan.
percentage of the name Jedi that we've ever seen on screen, like it starts to
Fair
feel like
enough.
it's not a special power anymore. This
Yeah,
is
it's
my
just a
same
general
thing
force
about
thing.
the Jedi that survived the Order 66, right? We all know it's not really a large percentage of them, but when you start to be able to count the names way too often, there's just so many people. You're like, okay, you don't feel special anymore. It's just it doesn't feel
Skip.
that way. Sorry, Ed. Skip.
Left
And
swipe.
he says skip.
Oh, brother. This is like literally the first TikTok we put up. It's so great. Okay, so then I said Chimere teleport. What's up? Question mark. How do we feel about that whole thing? What powers does or does he
And
not have?
speed.
I
Was
don't
it
know, but I
was
loved it.
Yeah, was it like a Jason Bourne, like he just disappeared when the bus passed by, or did he actually do something spooky there? What do we think?
I think
Hannah
there's
asked the
something
same thing.
spooky.
She's like, "Since when can he teleport?" And I was like, "He's kind of been doing that the whole time. Like this whole show, he's been,
Jumping
especially
around.
when he had they had the helmet on, he was fighting people. Every single second anybody looked the other direction, he was gone. He just disappeared. And
That's
it's
true.
not like I don't think he's teleporting. I think it's just force speed. Like he's just running really fast.
That
Oh,
could
he's
be.
like
Yeah.
Edward Cullen running around the Volvo.
Oh, please don't make that comparison.
That's exactly
Don't
what it
make
is,
that
though.
comparison.
Hello?
That's
Ugh.
it. That's exactly what
I
it
refuse
is.
to believe that.
That's what it is, man.
Let's talk about the duel though. My note for the duel is Soul is badass, this fight is badass, and then you get Force Repulse, which was pretty cool.
Mhm.
When the two sabers are coming through, it was very like a Force Unleashed sort of moment. Yeah, really liked that. I really just the choreography in this show is pretty solid. Again, there's that moment where the fight resolves its first bit where Soul is pushing or sorry, Chimere is pushing Soul's lightsaber toward his helmet, and people pointed out that Chimere could just like flick his wrist and Soul's head would fly off. But and I think that's probably fair. You have the argument that Soul's holding his wrist, maybe it's like a something force, but yeah, that's a moment that definitely looks a little odd. But the rest of it, I really it's prequel lightsabers, and it's a lot of fun to see.
Yeah,
There's a couple
floating-
moments like that.
Floating to the ground in combat, I wrote down that was so cool.
Yeah.
And
It
I
was
don't
very
know.
like Asian movie style fighting.
Yes,
Actually,
It was.
There was,
It was
there was
fantastic.
anime
That's cool.
moments, and I thought they
I
were
liked it.
cool.
Mhm.
It was
I
done well
com-
to like be obvious this is the Force though, and not just like cheesy jump cable kind of thing.
Yeah, and I complained to Michael though, and maybe it's just me. I felt like the lightsabers didn't look like bright and like crackly and I don't want to say, I'm not going to say the word in my head, but like liquidy. I don't know.
You're right.
It's
You're right.
it's the rotoscoping. Yeah, like they used to use rods and add it all in post, and now they're trying to
Mhm.
use LEDs. And
It looks
like
bad.
I
Not ready.
I think that's it's not what I'm used to. I'll put it that way.
There
I'm
were
with
several scenes where it
everyone on
literally
this
just
panel.
looked like plastic tubes.
Yeah, I was like, it looks like kind of
Yeah.
NeoPixels like you see on Instagram Reels.
Correct.
And it was
100%.
Correct.
100%.
I
I've talked about this too. Like it's a good direction to go for the lighting, but the
Mhm.
technology's not there. The lightsaber hilts have to be these beefy, chunky things that don't look very good, and then it's still not good enough. They're not bright enough that they can do this without post editing. And there's too many scenes where they didn't go back and re-brighten them, and they just look like they're fighting with fluorescent tubes. It's lame. Didn't like it.
Yeah.
Not about it.
Travis, I missed this. Travis pointed out that Palpatine, according to Ian McDiarmid, Palpatine is well over 100 in Return of the Jedi. I knew that, but I didn't know if they extended that back. They could. They totally could. They
Look at Mikey
totally
D's
could,
comment.
But yeah.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, Palpatine wasn't born until 80-ish BBY. So the question is that in canon or Legends? Because I agree with you that in
Yeah, that
Legends,
sounds like the
in the
Palpatine
Plagueis book,
or the
yeah,
Plagueis book.
Plagueis. I can't remember.
It would be awfully suspicious, though, for everybody if he had been involved in galactic politics overtly for that long as a human. Like, he is definitely a human from Naboo.
Yeah.
As far as we know, he's a Naboo senator. It'd be pretty suspicious if he had been in politics for like 100 years prior to Episode 1, which
I
this
think
is
it's-
supposed to be set 185, 84 years before, right? At this point, I
And
don't
I
know
would
at which
be
point it was 100
really
years, but
bored
still.
by that. Like, we're
Okay,
all
but
excited
also,
about this show and how things are different, and I don't want more Palpatine.
That's it. Yeah,
that's
that's where
fine.
I'm at with it.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't disagree, but also the fact that she just randomly called someone and talked to them doesn't mean he's already involved in politics.
That's true. That's true. That's true. He could just be, an aide somewhere, and it's probably not him. We're probably spending way too much time on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We'll deal with it in season 2, and we'll all be mad then if it is Palpatine, because I don't want that. Then you get Osha and May in there, in the bedroom there, and
Skipped
they
over
finally
Palpatine,
see each
or
other,
Plagueis.
and I did. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that. I actually didn't have a note about that, but I want to talk about this scene first. God, it was so good. I've struggled at times in this show with, like Amandla v. Amandla dialogue, but this one nailed it. I really, when May said, how could he teach you to heal your negative emotions when he's the reason you have them? You didn't fail, he did. Talking about responsibility and relative blame relative to how much you're able to handle at that point in your life. Like, we remember this kid is 8, right, at this time when they're going through these traumatic events. I truly loved it, because you can imagine all those sessions where he's like, you got to let go, you got to just let the vibes take over and all this stuff. Meanwhile, he's swallowing the fact that he murdered this girl's mom, and she can't get over the fact that she's sad. It's not even the audacity and the hypocrisy is so there. And to Michael's point, yeah, it doesn't mean the Sith are good guys. It doesn't mean that, Chimera and Darth Plagueis aren't manipulating the crap out of this, but the window was left open, right? Like, it don't start none, there won't be none type situation.
It's nasty.
Andy, do you have any thoughts on that? You're starting to talk.
I will just, I loved the dialogue too, but the Amandla v. Amandla thing didn't so much land for me here. I kind of was still distracted by it. I thought it was cool how when they did combat, their moves would kind of match up exactly the same.
Yeah, that was cool.
But it, like, at the same time, it looked silly. I know why it was there, and it did make sense, and I respect it. But I was like, okay.
I also noted that I really liked Osha when May drops those truth bombs. She just like sits there in it, and like she has like a little twitch in her eye, and then she just screams and lets it all. It's like, I don't want to confront that reality. I want it to be simple, right? Like, I want it to be the way I always thought it was. Don't introduce new information. And that was huge. Yeah, really loved it. Michael, Taylor, anybody have any thoughts on this scene before we move on and address the moon in the room?
Is this the May versus Osha hand-to-hand fight, or is that happening here, or is that later?
Yeah,
that's here.
There's a lot of people talking about how it's the worst choreography in all of Star Wars. I'm like, it's not. It might be, actually. I don't know. It's not a great fight, but it's not that bad either. Like, it's.
What do you mean it might be?
I mean, there's not a lot of hand-to-hand
People
fights
are saying
in Star
it
Wars,
sucks.
period.
I'm not saying it sucks. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I feel like, they're not right, but they might be.
Be so for real.
But just in terms of the hand-to-hand, like, non-lightsaber combat that we've seen in this show thus far, there's been some really good, really cool moments. And this was like, they were trying to do the weird ninja fight thing, but it's also a cat fight, but it was also weird mirroring. Like, they were trying to do so much with it. It just didn't land for me at all.
Well, they're the same person, so I think mirroring makes sense.
And that's what. Yeah, I didn't mind it at all. Like, was it like choreography? You can talk about later, but I like that at points, obviously, they were doing something different, but they ended up at the place where they were doing the same thing because they are the same person. Like, there was a lot of storytelling going on in the fight.
Michael says, are we forgetting Ahsoka choreography? 100%. I think
the only problem with Ahsoka choreography is it just needed to be sped up about 2 days. Like, it was so slow.
That's it.
Yikes. Yeah. No, I liked it. I don't know. Again, it was more the dialogue and the emotional stakes than the choreography for me. And
The
I don't
conversation was
blame
good. That's
anyone.
why I asked about the fight, because I was like, conversation's fine, but the fight
Yeah.
was meh.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't blame anybody that doesn't connect with the Amandla on Amandla, thing, because it could be uncanny valley. I totally get that. And in some cases it was for me, but in this one it landed for sure. Okay, so we get back to Soul, and no, I'm sorry. We got to address the moon in the room. We got Plagueis. Were we expecting Plagueis here? I thought that would have been a neat oh crap moment at the end, because it could have fit just as well there. What do you guys think that they stuck that in the middle there? How do you feel about
It was
that?
weird.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about Plagueis, so like I haven't read the Legends book, shockingly. But yeah, it was just weird, and I feel like the way they did it brought up a whole host of other questions that we now need a
Delightful
season
It was
2 to
ones.
100%.
address.
It was a dangle for sure. It was like, we definitely planned on another season. Please let there be another season.
Yeah.
I appreciated
100%.
that it wasn't just another end of episode cameo, because they did that anyway.
I'm not gonna lie, I was
I
still focused. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that scene I was still mostly focused on the Chimera and OSHA banter, so
Oh, where is it? Where is it?
Not to mention the big sex scene where the fingers touch.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, they boned when you graded on the curve of Star Wars. Yeah, I'm the questions that this raises, I don't want to spend 20 minutes on it right here. We'll do it at the end of the show, or we can do it next time if we want to. But the questions that this raises are legion. I'm so excited by it. I've disappeared. Not sure why. But someone else talk.
Use that other
while
camera
I
angle. Come on, you
figure
got two
that out.
cameras. What are you doing?
You want to just
There
stay
you
locked
go.
on this one?
Yeah.
Stay right here the whole time.
You can count your nose
All
hairs
right.
if you look up a little.
Yeah, I think my camera died. So why don't you guys tell me what you're thinking about Plagueis while I figure this out?
I don't know anything about Plagueis. I thought he might be a mind flayer. I was like, those are in Star
from
Wars
Baldur's
now?
Gate.
Yeah, ain't no way.
I
You
thought they
guys
did a
talk.
good job of making Immune look creepy, because, like, if you've ever looked up his species before, they're not the most intimidating looking creatures. Granted, I mean, if you saw that thing walking down the street, you'd be like, ew, oh my gosh, stay away. But in terms of Star Wars creatures, they're kind of dopey looking.
Yeah.
And boy,
Yeah.
this guy was like very Cthulhu-esque, like super creepy. Very excited about that. I think a lot of the questions I've been talking about is, do we think that Plagueis is behind all of this? Like, is Plagueis the one the witches worked with, and they made a deal with the devil to create these twins using the Virgins or whatever? Did they do this to try to help, like, continue their cult and make more followers or whatever, pass on their teachings? Or were they doing it, and is Plagueis studying it? Because at some point we know Plagueis, at least old canon was, spoilers, Plagueis was trying to create life using the Force, and he was successful, but he didn't know it. So he was intentionally trying to create Anakin, or what, who we knew was eventually Anakin, but he didn't know that he was successful. It didn't happen where he thought it was going to happen, to who he thought it was going to happen, to whom. So it's interesting whether or not we think that he is learning about this stuff from them, or if he's the one, like, if he's experimenting on these random witches and like, he's just like messing with them to try to figure out how to do this himself intentionally. Because I think it's fair to say May and Osha might have been a failed experiment. They're a split personality. They're two halves of a whole. They're the same person, and it's probably not an intentional outcome for what happened.
Michael, I think I
that?
treated you unfairly. I am very grateful for your ability to fill a conversational void. Thank you for doing that, and I'm very glad to be back. Yeah, Plagueis is crazy, man. I heard every bit of that, and let me tell you,
Yeah.
so
So,
stuff
Ed,
coming.
do you think that Plagueis created and helped the witches create Osha and May? or did Osha and May, were they created by the witches and Plagueis is like watching them and learning how this happened?
Option
I
two.
don't like that path
I was
personally.
going with two.
I was much prefer that he was the one who taught them. I feel like that was even implied in the first couple episodes when they're like, "What if the Jedi find out what we did?" Like, I felt like the
Yeah.
witches knew they were working with the Sith and they were sort of cutting a deal with the devil. But I also feel like Osha and May are a failed experiment. They're a failed version of what they wanted Anakin to be. In fact, the witches seem to be aware of the prophecy and what was going to happen with Anakin because they talked about exactly what happens later. It is their best intentions were going to kill every Jedi in the galaxy. To me, that seems like something Plagueis might have told them because maybe this was all intentional from
That's
Plagueis
true.
from the
That's
beginning.
true.
Like this was his
That's
whole
true.
plan was to fulfill the prophecy for them in a way that would be entirely self-destructive.
It
guide
could
the hand of the Force.
100%. It could 100% go either way. My hope is that he's seeing it and then perfecting it himself to use it for his own ends. But I 100% see the breadcrumbs that were left. And to your point, like usually when there are breadcrumbs, leading you in a certain way, that's where the show is going to take you.
I just
isn't
don't like the idea that, and people have said this before, that Leslie Headland is doing something this way, but like I don't like the idea that she would just invent these random witches of not even the Night Sister vein that we've heard
Yeah.
before, but like we invent these witches and we invent this idea that they were the ones who figured out how to create life with the Force, and then Plagueis learned it from them, and it sort of undermines his evil masterminding and the Sith as a whole. Like I'm not saying it's bad, they can do it well. I just don't love that idea. I like the idea that he's sort of meddling in their lives and trying to help them out, or they think that they're being helped, and in fact he's using them, because I don't want to lose track of who the real bad guy is, and I don't want to give too much credit to these random witches we know nothing about in the middle of nowhere, and they just like figured out something the Sith couldn't figure out.
I feel like this show has done a really good job of that, though. Like, as far as not losing sight of the main bad guy. Like, as many problems as I have with the Jedi and Soul, and there are many, right? But then the minute you start thinking, oh, I don't really know, then the Sith like murders 8 people. You know what I mean? Like it's so good at that, like the recalibration. I am not worried that, like when you see Plagueis, he just exudes evil 100%. Andrew says, well said, if Plagueis is using them as their guinea pigs. Yeah, so he's in agreement. Yeah, it would be very in keeping with the rest of this show. And so that, that's why I was saying, like, I have a hope, but I think the breadcrumbs are there, and this show has not been one to subvert expectations when it properly lays breadcrumbs. Up in Smoke points out he doesn't like Ki-Adi-Mundi. I didn't really like Ki-Adi-Mundi as a character; just dropped in there, didn't need to be there. Not for me either.
There were so many other long-lived Jedi we already knew about that could have been there.
Give my man Yariel Poof some
Yariel
love.
Poof, come on,
yeah. Cormian.
I want to see all 4 of his arms,
Cormian, count me in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right.
So other question about all
okay.
this. Is Chimere a Sith? Is he an apprentice? Or is he a
we're
poser?
not doing that now. We're not. We're still working through the. We're working through the synopsis.
All right.
I'm sorry. Save it for final thoughts.
It's important for the Plagueis thing.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I just we're already almost pushing 2 hours. I gotta get rolling here.
Forgive me for wanting to cut to the chase. Sorry.
No, it's not you. It's not what you're saying. It's just I want to stay on the track here. So jump back to the fight. I did like where it resolved itself by Soul shutting off his lightsaber, using a little Tricata against the man who used it previously. That was really, really cool. And then also we're gonna talk about the saber crystal bleeding or whatever. But Michael, we were talking in the Discord on rewatch. Yeah, when May throws it away in her sort of Return of the Jedi moment, it bashes against a rock and then it lingers on it for a shot, showing that the kyber crystal.
I know, I saw that, but like if you've exposed the crystal and misaligned it and it rattled around in the blade, how the heck does it still work? We already know lightsabers, if the crystal's not 100% perfectly aligned, it explodes.
Actually, what I am
right?
is I am somebody who has left the cult of science.
It doesn't. It's. They wanted to bleed a crystal. They wanted to bleed a crystal, and
They just
she
didn't have
didn't
to show it
ignite
that
it.
way.
And they didn't think it through.
Lightsabers are mood rings now, guys. They're mood rings now. As stupid as that.
Again, it's in like 5 comics and a game, like 6 seasons in a
And at
movie.
least 3
Like,
books. Like it
like
is a canon fact established at least 8 years ago now at this point, which is almost as old as new canon is, period.
And this is what I've said to you so many times on the show, Michael. Like, of course you're correct. Of course you're correct. Of course you're correct. They wanted to show that scene and they wanted to have the lightsaber do the cool thing, and so they had to explain it in a way that wouldn't make Anakin's not make sense in episode 3. So in order, it's like a cost benefit thing. It's a trade-off thing. I know you know this. I'm not talking
You
to
should
I'm talking
explain
to the
this because
world.
I
But
didn't know this, having not read the comics. That aspect of the saber bleeding was never clear to me, and I
yeah,
did feel like it was kind of a plot hole as to all the rage and anger that even turned Anakin's eyes yellow but didn't turn his blade red. I
correct.
did feel like that was kind of a plot hole.
So it's a very bleeding a lightsaber crystal is a very intentional thing that's done by direct either contact with the kyber crystal or through the force, like holding it and where it's exposed from the lightsaber itself. So it's part of a Sith ritual, which Osha inadvertently fulfilled by bleeding the kyber crystal of a Jedi's lightsaber who you kill. So that was awesome in that she inadvertently fulfilled one of the Sith initiation rituals. But in this situation, that's why she's able to bleed it, because she's able to contact it because it's exposed. I'm pretty sure you see her rotate it before she ignites it, so that's why it doesn't immediately incinerate her hand. But either way, that contact with her skin is enough to sort of bypass both the intentionality and maintain canon so that Anakin's is not a plot hole retroactively. I don't blame anyone for not seeing that initially, but I do like the attention to detail that it is there. And I fully grant that lightsabers, if you look at the physics of it too much, don't actually work in real life. And I think that's valid. All right, catch up on
You're
some
just
chat.
telling
Anybody
me
wants to
this
say
now for the
anything?
first time.
Yeah, that's a good soundbite. I wish I was. I'm just hearing this for the first time. That's news to me. Andrew says excellent points. I'm sure you were talking to me and not Michael or anybody else. I'm certain. No, I'm sure. I'm sure it was when Michael was talking about the lightsaber, because they were excellent points. Todd McDanger soundbite says she Vadered, and it's true. It's true. 100%. It's neat to see the callback to all this legend stuff, or not legend stuff, extemporaneous ancillary content making its way back to the mainstream. That's really, really cool. It started with Cobb Vanth, and I really, really love it. I'm really excited by it. Nope, 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 nope. No. As a matter of fact.
No. No. You must die!
I made such a big deal that I had to put it on screen. Okay.
It's funny.
It's not funny. Okay, so the Sith ritual, we
Lightsaber
talked
whips
about
don't work
that.
in real life. It doesn't make any sense.
It's dumb. Crap. Make it crap. I got a button for it, but I'll just do it. Okay, so at this point, we see the Jedi ship flying
We're about
overhead.
25% away through the episode.
Yeah, you see,
Which
you
is
see the
about how
Jedi
much
ship.
battery my phone has left.
Yeah, you see the Jedi ship flying overhead, and so at that point, Soul finally goes like, we'll pay for what you did. This is a line we missed earlier, and he says, "Oh, they're not here for me," and I really, really liked that a lot. That was because he's exactly right. They don't care. They would like it. It would be an also ran, to get but they want to cover this thing up. Vernestra lands, and immediately Chimere is just like spooked as hell and puts his head back in the bucket. And she has a very episode 4 Darth Vader moment. She's like, you're alive. Very interesting. Confirms our suspicions that she was his master. A lot of people were talking about his scars, meaning that she tortured him. I don't know that that's the case. I feel like they might have had a duel.
Probably just lost a duel. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know that I buy that. She just straight up tortured. But Andy, you raised your
We
hand.
don't think that this is her.
Andy, you
actual
raised your hand.
Padawan.
Sorry.
Do I need
All
to
right.
get the zipper back
Okay.
out?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Go ahead, Michael.
So I lost my train of thought. Oh, Chimere has talked about how the helmet, right? It keeps them from messing with his head or
Yeah.
something. I took note of that straight away, how like they had some sort of communication until he put the helmet on. And
Yeah, it helps.
I'm skipping ahead, but I just thought it was cool that has been a theme that he talks about, and then May gets her memory wiped and is basically seated now before Vernestra with like the memories of her 8-year-old self. I just thought that was a unique tie-in altogether.
What do we think about the memory wipe? How do we feel about that? Michael, I'll give it to you since I stepped on you there a minute ago. What do you think about the memory wipe? And if you want to use that to say whatever you were going to say, feel free.
It was a convenient plot device that I felt like they sort of just conjured. And that's okay, because we can conjure force abilities we've never seen before. Totally fine with that, actually. But it didn't make any sense to me. The whole end sequence with May and Osha, and like why, yeah, it's just Sith weapon. Yeah, I mean, sort of, but they do explain it. She gets a lot of judgment in the High Republic for having it. But she also uses it to great effect for defense in the books. So there's that. I'm sure if Travis were here, he'd back me up.
Yes.
Trying to remember
I've
what
read those books.
I was going to say before we were talking about Vern and.
If you can't remember, it's fine.
No. What was her original Padawan's name? It couldn't be him.
I wrote it down.
Canteros?
Cantero. So the ship is named that, as New Rockstars pointed out. It very well
is it
could
really?
Be. It really is.
No.
And so that's the thing.
He's blonde, though.
We have pictures.
Like
they could retcon it, but they could retcon his appearance.
Dude looks completely different. I'm posting this in the
100%.
live chat on the Discord. Plug
Very
the Discord.
different.
Join up with us. We've seen depictions of him in children's books. And they've kept with her appearance for the most part. So it would be super weird. Like, this guy looks like my little brother, not like
Fair.
whatever trashy name we're giving to Chimere, right? Chimere. Yeah, whatever. I mean, he could dye his hair. Who cares?
Yeah.
Regardless, if for what has happened with his character, that would be odd, and also he'd be really freaking old. Like, Imri Canteros is born in 246 BBY. Like, he'd be super old.
Yeah, so we talked about that before. We talked about that before with the back to tank or any sort of stasis or something like that. There's workarounds there for sure.
Why do you think there's a back to tank involved? Like, do you think he died, or
he might have been really messed up by the light whip, and she might have put him in the fridge like Dagan Gera, and someone else might have took him out the fridge. Also, like Mitra Surik, bringing that back around.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it doesn't really make sense for his character being what they. I don't know if you've gotten as far as that, because they explore more what goes on with his character in the last more recent books. Last you probably saw, he was on Starlight Beacon, so
yes.
But that's separate. A lot goes on.
Interested to see what Vernestra has happened. I think that will shed a lot of light on this. These are questions that are open-ended at this point. Anyone else have any notes about the memory wipe before I dish?
Well, I just didn't think it made any sense why like they had to make this deal, and why she couldn't come with them, except that maybe the ship only had 2 weird cockpits, and so they're we can't all come, so someone's got to stay behind.
The
I don't know
what?
why she's
This
like
was addressed. They said she made the deal so that May could escape and not have to be with him.
it
Like
just didn't
she
make
made
sense
that
if that
deal.
was the case. If he was willing to do that, why not drop her on literally any other planet so she's not captured by the Jedi immediately?
They
And they
said
Why? They don't trust the
they took
Jedi.
all
They
her
don't like the
memories.
Jedi. The Jedi are bad guys to them, and they're like, you know what? Who we should leave her with? We should wipe her memory, leave her with the brain of an 8-year-old, because I love you. Because that's the best thing for you, is to protect you, is to wipe your memory back to being an 8-year-old, and then leave you with the Jedi. It didn't make any sense for
It made
her. She
zero
doesn't like the
sense.
Jedi. She's so mad
Do
at
you
the
really
Jedi.
think
She's
so?
turned to the dark side. She's so mad at the Jedi. She turned to the dark side, and she's
What is
joining
happening?
Kymir to learn about the dark side. And she's like, you know what? I
She
really just think that.
changed.
Yeah, but
The
so why
events
did she then
changed
also
her.
still
I
leave
feel
her
like
with?
her sister was a witch.
Was
bro.
a witch.
Look. Okay, so the events changed her. She softened. She had her moment. She threw the lightsaber away. She's less like, she doesn't like the Jedi. She knows that, but she also knows that she's probably not able to avoid them forever.
Who's she? Sorry, who are we talking about?
May. Sorry, we're talking about May.
Yeah, I
And
know. I'm not talking.
the
I'm not worried about May, because May doesn't really do anything this whole episode. She just kind of like is there and communicates. It's really Osha. Like, oh, I'm confused by why Osha would do this.
okay. So May really does
Leave us
not
says be
vibe
nice.
with. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm losing it.
Oh, I think she was talking to me.
May, I think she's talking to me, and I think it's valid. Okay, so May really does not like the stranger almost as much as Osha does not like Soul at this point, right? Probably not to the same level, but that's a real. He tried to kill her a few times. And she's useless to him now. So, she knows that he doesn't have any reason to keep her alive and all that stuff. Also, she knows that the Jedi, she knows how they use the mind, so the memories that are in her head are not her own, and they will root around and find. That's to your point about her not trusting the Jedi. So she's a loose end. So they don't want, he'll have to kill her, right? If she is left as a loose end. So in order for that situation to work at all, she has to have her memory wiped. Also,
Sure.
it's interesting because of the whole motif coming back around, the mantra of I give you, you give me me. May is the one that always says it to Osha the whole time. I give you, you give me me. Like she's the one who fills both halves of it because Osha's not saying it, or the way Osha says it. Osha's never giving May anything, right? And so in this case, it's interesting because May is giving Osha the chance to be that full person by giving up her whole memory of her entire adult life. And it's also kind of interesting because by losing Osha's identity as a good person, I guess, and joining the Sith, she's giving May the chance to remain alive. So it's kind of interesting that they're both finally being
It's a
proportional
good
with
thing.
that.
Amnesia exonerates you from murder. That's always a good thing.
Bigger fish to fry, I think. And Vernestra's not above a cover up. I don't think any of the Jedi are. And all those murders conveniently were pinned on Soul. So, no crime, no double jeopardy.
I just found it annoying that
Go
all
ahead,
her
Kim.
character growth was essentially erased when they did the memory thing.
Yes, but to me in that moment, that was her giving her, right? Like she is giving herself and all the growth that she had to Osha so they are one person, right? Like it'll be interesting to see what happens if and when she gets her memories back, because I don't think any of us believes for a second that she's not going to get her memories back. I have another little mini soapbox about the whole memory thing. It kind of blows my mind. I saw a lot of people talking about it online about how stupid it is and how it's not Star Wars and all this sort of stuff. And
That's not the problem, though.
it's not your problem, but it's a problem. And I'm talking about this problem. So people were talking about how it's not Star Wars and it doesn't fit, and we're gonna sit here and act like Knights of the Old Republic isn't like on all of our Mount Rushmore as far as Jedi tampering with memories and things of that nature. So trying to like tiptoe around spoilers there. I need to catch up on some chats here. Because I
Oh,
think
here we
Usha's the
go. Here
only-
we go. Here we go. We got it. May is the new Revan. May gets her memory wiped, and they train her as a Jedi, even though they shouldn't, because she has the brain of an 8-year-old. So they train her up
I
as a
swear.
Jedi, and then later
swear.
she realizes. I might have broke Ed. Whoops.
I said,
and then they send her after her sister. They turn her into a better
my
Jedi.
God. Oh my God.
You tried so hard.
I tried so hard to craft this like perfectly tiptoed spoiler-free thing for the biggest spoiler in the best Star Wars that's still like 20 years old.
I don't know
Also,
what you're
we're
talking
trying
about. There's no reference.
really
I'm
hard
just giving
to get
a
Andy
theory.
to play this game, and and my man's just like, so yeah.
Nobody knows what I just said unless you know, so just let it go. Andy doesn't know.
I was like, should I fake laugh? I don't get it.
That's
Andy
fine.
doesn't
If you
know.
don't,
It's fine.
That's fine. I'm dead. I'm so dead. Okay. I want to catch up on chat, which is what I said.
Wait.
Andy, please.
No, yeah.
Just
it's
go play
a-
KOTOR. Go play KOTOR.
Dots are
Go play
connecting
KOTOR.
and
Yeah.
doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay, so Chimera and Osha were racing to Brendok, but there's only one ship. Am I wrong on that? Chimera and Osha were racing to Brendok.
They were not racing. They were in a ship with 2 cockpits, and it was kind of weird.
That's right. Yeah, it was like a cloud car sort of
She
thing,
turned
like
us off.
from Bespin.
Yeah, she's like,
yeah.
mute.
That was awesome. I really.
She definitely
that-
felt
I
like
wish-
a completely different person there.
I'm
Ooh.
tempted to use
praise
that
moment for
functionality
the-
myself.
Praise though for the
go ahead,
show.
please.
Adequately explaining and using background skills like Osha's ability to
Mechneck,
slice
yeah,
into
with
the elevator. Yeah, Mechneck, right. Yeah. They gave her a backstory that supports her random set of abilities. I really appreciate that, because we often complain
This-
about the Mary Sue thing or whatever, and where just people just randomly, it doesn't have to be female
Just
characters,
like
just like
Omega.
random characters can just do things without any reason. And we're like, no, actually in this case they gave her abilities and a background that actually supported what they needed her to do in the plot later, and it was well done. I appreciate it.
So
It's good
Osha
stuff.
is both a Mary Sue and also had set up for her abilities. So that was great. No,
Yeah,
I agree with you
100%.
100%.
Yeah, she sucks. Go ahead.
I want to catch up on chat. Reva says May does a ton this episode ? Agreed. She says maybe I can see the memory wipe as a convoluted setup for getting May in the presence of the Jedi and growing her path towards the light, but I didn't find it brain breaking. I so disagree. I assume she's talking to you, Michael, but maybe not, because her character growth is what put
Taylor.
her in the position to be willing to undergo the mind wipe and be in the custody of the Jedi. So yeah.
Somebody else said
and-
something about
and-
her character growth being undone. That wasn't me.
Yeah,
didn't
no,
Oh,
that was me.
Okay. That was
We-
Taylor.
I feel
Okay.
like we-
Womp womp. Sorry. Michael's like, I got enough. I got enough on my ledger. I don't need extras. Fair enough.
My ledger only exists in your mind, Ed.
Okay, moving on. When Mog arrests May, I just died. I was like, he has to be the single least threatening cop in the history of the world. It's like,
But you
please.
know who was there? Basil.
yeah, she was scared of Basil. That's why she did it. He was like, put your saber down, please, and please pick up your oyster fork. And like, she's like, no, I'm scared of the gopher. That's what's going on. I said here, May gave up her memories to give Osha a chance of life and closure. I already said that. Never mind. Yapping. I already yapped that. Okay. So, and then we talk about Vernestra's line later on and the cover up. So let's get to that. She said, Soul made a mistake he lived with so long that it twisted his mind. He justified every selfish step with the love that he had for your sister. Um, Obviously, this is Vernestra talking as well and projecting. I mean, I think you can see it on her face that, she's got loose threads with Chimere, and that's what she talks about with Yoda later on. Is there anything else that we want to say about the cover up that we haven't already? I'm happy to spend more time on this. I feel like we've kind of discussed it, unless someone else has another nugget.
I just kind of agree with what I think Dawn said in the Discord, that this actress for Vernestra and this character didn't really land for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. At present, I found her to be pretty stale and flat. We'll see what season 2 does, given a bigger role.
Yeah.
I have here surprised that we didn't see Plagueis at the end on Baldemnik instead of earlier. I'm calling it Baldemnik. It might not be, but and then yeah. So we're talking about that last scene, right? With Oshmir, right, or whatever the couple name is there. I gotta give it to Reba. I buy it a lot more now, and you too, Taylor. I buy it a lot more. It's giving Red Blade. That's what's making me think of. The chat hasn't loaded, so I don't know. But yeah, it's giving Red Blade. It's giving the passion is in the Sith code. And so the idea of, we talked earlier, and Michael, this is me opening the floor back up to discuss this again. Plagueis, the Sith Master, where the ranks are, right? People are talking about Chimere just being a random acolyte, not even training with Plagueis. There's all kinds of different theories. Michael's gone. Michael's back.
He's back.
Welcome back. We missed you. Michael's muted. Don't know why. Okay, I'll let him figure that out. What do we think is going on with the Sith? What's our hierarchy here? While Michael figures that out, I swear, I thought Taylor was frozen too. You have a very placid face, and you blinked. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Okay, so you two, I'll start with Taylor. What is your guess as to the Sith hierarchy? Who's filling what role? And that's the question.
I don't even know it. Because
you just take a guess. It's
I really have no clue. I mean, I would probably put Plagueis in Master. I'm still very much thinking that Chimere isn't the apprentice. But I mean,
you think he's
right
on
now
his
it's the
own
only
tree? Like,
yeah,
is he
that's
doing
still
his
kind of
own
how I
thing?
see it.
Yeah, that's valid. Yeah, I was wondering that myself.
Maybe Plagueis is lurking around because he's once an apprentice. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, you wanted an acolyte, I want an acolyte. Which one of you acolytes is going to be my acolyte?
Everybody wants an acolyte.
You get an acolyte.
Exactly. Reba says she's excited for this to function as the Band-Aid over the Raylo-sized hole in her heart. I modified your words, but yeah. Michael, what do you think? What's your view of this whole situation? What's your Sith hierarchy?
I think I didn't get to say that I called Soul was going to take the fall for all of this like 3 or 4 episodes ago. So just saying, definitely 100% called that.
Yeah, we've
anyway,
established that this show telegraphs things, so you know.
Mm-hmm. It was obvious to everybody, and I was not the first one to say that for sure. You're right. I'm sorry. No, it's cool. No credit. I got you. My B.
No, you nailed it.
You nailed it. I was original.
You nailed it.
I really
you were
don't
there first.
Want
You were definitely there first. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You deserve flowers.
I don't
for
want
that. No.
I don't want Chimere to be the apprentice.
Okay.
Mostly because of the power scale thing. We've talked about this before, how awesome it would be for Chimere to just have been a poser this whole time, and for Plagueis to like mop up in the end, just come and just completely obliterate, do what Chimere joked about doing, like, now I have to kill everybody, haha, and just turned out that Chimera is pulling an Asajj Ventress in the Tartakovsky series, and he's like straight up posing as a Sith, but he is not in fact a Sith. He's sort of, hey, wears the trappings of a Sith. He uses the Jedi weapons and all that, but he is himself not. We already saw a little bit of the interesting power scale shifting because, yes, he wrecked all of those other Jedi, but he didn't wreck Soul, and as far as we know, Soul was the only master. And from what the show has showed us, there is a pretty big power difference between the masters and the apprentices, or the masters and just the regular Jedi, right?
Knights,
Indara was way more powerful than Soul and Torben and Kelnaka. She was like head and shoulders above the rest. And so I don't think that we know any of those other random red shirt Jedi that died on Kelnaka's planet were masters. I'm pretty sure
Kofar.
Not Brent Doc. Kofar, yeah.
Kofar.
I don't think that any of them were masters, and that would explain a lot, that he just is more powerful. But either way, he defeated Chimera. And so at very least, Chimera's not the master. He's not the top of anything. I think it's also telling that he never said he was looking for an apprentice. He said he was looking for an acolyte. If he is the apprentice and he's looking for an apprentice, and Plagueis knows this, he should be dead. Like, this is not something
but
that
also
really
but also
like...
not, because again, if you're looking at, Sidious knew about, they let them play around and then they decide
they let them
arbitrarily,
so like
Sidious
let Dooku have Ventress, right? Like, that was a thing, but they also were very clear on where she stood as not a stepping stone.
Sorry, Taylor, one second. If the Plagueis book, if we're talking about that, I know it's Legends, but since we're pulling so much from that, Plagueis knew that Sidious had Maul and Dooku and had eyes on Anakin. Like, Plagueis knew all of that. So, there's definitely like layers to all this. There's the rule, but they also
there was another Sith too that popped up that
was before. I want to that was Tenebris had Venomous and and Plagueis. But anyway, Plagueis. Taylor, you had your hand up. Sorry.
No, just two thoughts. I know before, obviously Soul's a master now, but I know before, I think when we were on the planet, we were discussing the fact that Indara seemed to be the only master on that little exhibition. Or expedition. There we go. English, y'all. Whatever. It is 11:06. I have been up for too many hours.
We're so close.
So I don't know like how that goes into, who beat who and all of that. But I thought it was actually, that makes no sense. Never mind. Disregard. I really am tired.
Womp womp.
I know. But no, I know Soul beat Chimera. That being said, I was wondering how much of it was sort of what Palpatine did when he let Windu corner him and back him into the wall to then use that to manipulate Anakin. Because Chimera knows both Osha and May are on this planet. So I wondered if some of it was intentional.
I feel like it's make lemonade, right? Like, because I'm pretty sure they confirmed that Sidious was not trying to throw that duel either. But immediately once he lost his lightsaber, he just like shifted
milked it hard.
100%. Yeah. I think that's 100% what's going on. Reba, I didn't read your comment because I didn't get it. Now it makes more sense. She said, "Can I say that I called Osha kills May since we're claiming our calls?" And she said, "Osha kills Soul," and that's a great segue too, because I need to McNugget. What's up, dude? Welcome.
Hey, Nugget.
Welcome. And, but I also want to circle back. At risk of being a little contentious here, she says, killing the Jedi without the weapon, right? Like that was
my gosh.
something.
This is going to take another 30 minutes.
Stop it, Ed. Stop it.
What's wrong with this? That's what I was saying the whole time. Who is willing to stand there and kill the Jedi that does not have a weapon and also kill him without a weapon using the Force? It's dual purpose.
That's not what you were saying before.
Okay.
Go back and clip it. You were arguing that this whole thing was about killing a Jedi who didn't have a weapon, which was a factor but was not the important part. That Soul could have been holding his lightsaber. No. Soul could have been holding his lightsaber this
Kill-
whole time, and it would have made a difference. The important
Kill-
part was we were waiting way into this. All this was you need to kill him using the Force, and they were just being dumb about how they said it.
No,
Use lightning, Force choke him. All that needed to happen was she needed to have so much anger that she could actually harness the Force to just yank the life out of somebody without using a weapon to do it. It had nothing to do with whether or not Soul had a lightsaber in his hand or not. That is not the point.
No.
It was killing an unarmed opponent. That's some Sith stuff to do. Okay, nod your head. Yeah, nod your head. It's both. It's killing a defenseless opponent and killing him without a weapon. Both sides, killing a defenseless opponent and killing an opponent without a weapon yourself using the Force. She did that. That's what I was saying. I yeah, Michael, why not
Other
both?
than the
Yes.
Force,
And
it's
Reba says
semantics.
he's so going to clip it. Yes, he is.
Do it. Do it.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
If it was about the Jedi being unarmed, she would have accomplished it with Torben, right? Like it
No, he
wasn't
killed
about
himself.
him having. I know, but she handed him the bottle and he killed himself, and she convinced him to
killed
do
himself.
it. Are you saying
You talk
that,
so much and say so little.
you're telling me that Soul didn't just sit there and take it? Soul didn't just let her do this. Soul couldn't fight back at all. He had no choice. He was just completely overwhelmed by her, and she could just like do
We
whatever
don't
she
know.
wanted. He
He
didn't
so
just
could've
feel
fought back.
so. Oh, he was so racked by guilt and so completely paralyzed. He did not want to fight back. There's no way.
But are you going to
No.
sit here and tell me that there's no difference between not resisting someone murdering you and drinking your own poison?
Are you gonna
There's
sit
very
here
little
and tell me
difference.
that I'm wrong?
That's
That I'm
I'm
wrong,
at that
dude?
level, bro. I'm right
My
there.
point
I'm
is,
like,
it had
I
nothing to do with
swear,
whether or not he had a
I'm losing my
lightsaber.
mind.
If he was holding a lightsaber in his hand and still stood there and let her choke him, it would have had the same effect. It was not about him having a lightsaber. It's not about him being unarmed. It was about her being unarmed. It had nothing to do with
So,
the person dying
before-
being unarmed. That's not the point.
Before, my man would not care about anything other than the text. And now, when presented with text and subtext, and I'm arguing that it's both in one fell swoop, he's saying, I don't care about the text. It's more about the subtext. It's what
No,
that's
you
what-
just are hearing it wrong. It's not about killing an unarmed Jedi. It's about not having a weapon when you kill the Jedi. It's not about like you're just reading the sentence wrong,
So
listening to it wrong.
anyway, what do y'all think about Yoda cameo?
Yeah, right. That Yoda cameo, Puppet Yoda, good stuff.
Yeah, I don't like Puppet Yoda. I'm scared of Puppet Yoda. I don't want Puppet Yoda unless they're going to make Yoda do like, not nice things like cover up murders and stuff. Then he looks creepy enough to do that. I don't Puppet Yoda is not my bag, but they probably can't afford CGI Yoda, to be honest. So I think we're in
We did
for
only
Puppet
see
Yoda.
We did only see the back of him, which helped.
That's
They
true.
remade
That
Puppet
is
Yoda
true.
for Rise of Skywalker, and that certainly didn't make their money back on that. So they probably need to reuse that puppet.
I just thought the I don't know. I didn't think the cameo was really all that necessary.
I
It
thought
was
it
fan
was
service.
awesome.
I mean,
She
pure
was-
and simple.
She was
Yeah.
She was clearly going for Yoda. Like it made perfect sense. But
Yeah, he is the guy at the top that has the longevity from age and all of it. 100%. Reva says, "I won." She loves Puppet Yoda. I'm glad you're getting fed. I'm glad you're getting fed. Michael says he loves the Yoda cameo. And Todd McDanger says Soul is truly a flawed man. Yeah, 100%. I mean, dude left. He kept rationalizing that thing he did, and it's all an outgrowth of him trying to have a life of significance, of importance, greater than that of an ordinary Jedi, which we see manipulated by the Sith overtly with Sidious. But it's interesting how that same desire, not even intentionally manipulated by the Sith, still opens up for the Sith to have a lot of manipulation. Anyway, I want to address one more thing before we get out of here. That I put on the thumbnail. That's the only reason why I'm doing it. People were talking about season 2. How is this? Like there's a lot of loose threads here. There were a lot of Jedi that saw Soul not be in a position to be able to commit a lot of these murders, right? Like there's a lot of things that don't add up. There are things that don't make sense, and Vernestra's cover-up will likely have holes in it. And I think you're exactly right. It reminds me a lot of the Darth Bane books, and it reminds me of how in the first book, Darth Bane kills all the Sith, and that's the Sith are vanquished with the thought bomb, right? And this is all Legends, that's why I'm spoiling it.
Mhm.
But then there are Jedi that are like, that just doesn't make sense. It does not make sense for all this stuff to have happened this way, and there's too many loose threads. It just doesn't. It's the equivalent of in Phantom Menace, like, we didn't hit it. Like it doesn't make sense. The Sith are still out there, and so the guy, the flowy haired lovely man, Valentine Farfalla, leads a group of Jedi that
Boy,
go
EU
on
was
this
so much better
adventure,
than Disney canon.
go on this adventure, and end up tracking down the Sith, and they have that's the second book, and it's exquisite. It really, really is. Someone should really make Michael read that book.
I've tried.
Yeah,
Recanonize it. I'll read it.
we all have. Hey, I hope they do. I hope they take the roundabout way of doing that. Okay, yes, Reba
Like,
loves Soul,
though,
wants to see more.
They never technically decanonized the old Republic video game because it's still around.
No, they did decanonize it. It's just there's the only
Did they-
Legends content they're still working on.
No, but like, did they specifically say that it is not
Yes.
canon anymore? Have they?
Yes.
When?
From
When
day
did they
one,
do that?
all the time, ever.
Okay.
I
Well,
was gonna say everything.
my point was they've done some legwork and some groundwork at recanonizing a lot of what was in
Yes.
the old Republic stuff, and there is
Mhm.
no reason why they could not. And this is a pipe dream, but there is no reason why they could not at a certain point
It's my
swaths
pipe dream.
bring all the stuff prior to the High Republic back. Like, there's
Maybe
really,
not all of it,
there's
but
really
a lot
no-
of it. Yeah, particularly
Well,
Darth Bane.
I'm
Like,
saying they
I've
have
been
to, but
Yes.
there's no reason they couldn't, especially since they brought Bane back, right? Bane is a canon character now. The
Correct.
Mandalorian wars with the Jedi are canon. Like, all that stuff is there. There's really
And
no
we-
reason they
you know,
couldn't. But
loyal listeners of the show will remember for years me saying I would love a mature dark TV show, just basically adapt those Bane books and make them, they fit in the canon largely. You might have to make just a couple tweaks, but make that your Luke Cage show, and that will be perfect. Look, I said, Reba, she said, need y'all to hug it out. Look, I said 100%. We're an old married couple. We that's the point of this show, is we get to be here and throw jabs, but we all know that it is all love, and we all love Star Wars, and that's, people say it's just like, the shill corner here because we don't hate this show categorically. But I think this just shows that, we can have disagreement, we can have debate. That's what makes this fun. But it's all centered around love for Star Wars and each other. And now I'm just so hippy dippy, but man, it's all positive vibes out here. I love you, man. Okay. Final thoughts, everybody. I know Taylor's phone's about to die, and my soul is clinging by a thread. So I'm too scared to start with Michael. Taylor, your final thoughts?
I just really hope we get a season 2. I think Reba made a good comment in the chat, which is they've done enough where if we don't get it, I'm not going to hate my life. But I would really, really like to see more. There's so much more they could do. And a lot of questions I still have. But yeah, no, I just thoroughly enjoyed the show. And I hope we get more content that explores, new time periods and new characters.
Agreed.
Nice.
Todd McDanger says it's about family. I thought about when it says killing soul, May kills, or Osha kills her soul, right? To join the dark side. It kind of reminded me of Family Guy.
And his name will be Norm Hull, because he's just a normal guy. But not everybody will get that. That's just for the scholars 100 years from now.
That's what I thought of when I thought she killed her soul. All right, Andy, what's your final thoughts? Any dangling threads? What are you excited for season 2? Do you think we're going to get it?
Yeah, I think we will. I really hope so. I think Reba mentioned that if not, at least books. Oh, I would love a book.
Yes.
And And I don't know, is Mother Coral in this episode or is it the one before this episode?
She's in the one before this one, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't there, so I didn't get to share, but she said she had such a fierceness that I loved. I knew if you're in the Discord, you saw that I drew Mother Coral because I really loved her design and her character a little bit. But I kind of was like, what if she ends up like being really bad in this show? And I like drew fan art of her. But I actually I loved where she went, and I love her line. I don't have it exactly, but it's something like, I'd rather die than allow the Jedi to take my children. And she just goes like, she goes hard, and I loved that moment. And also, I think Leslie Headland has all but not confirmed, but she said she could be alive. She, when questioned
no
about
body,
it,
no death, right?
yeah, she said herself, no body, no death. So I want to see more Mother Coral.
Agree. I really hope we get a season 2. Michael, I'm ready. Any dangling threads? What are your final thoughts? And same question: are we going to get a season 2, and do you want it?
I do want a season 2. I think that's a good place to be too. As cautiously as we entered this show, we weren't really sure. Even halfway through, we're like, man, this could be garbage. This could be good. And I think it's ended on the good side. I still think it's only like, it's teetering on the edge of, yeah, like I'll really be heartburning if there's not more. And part of that is that I don't think they tied it off as neatly as Andor. Like Andor could never have gotten a second season. And even though we really, really want one, the story had a proper conclusion. I don't feel like this one, I think they teased too much to end this without like a book or something. But I genuinely hope we get a second season and they improve on a lot of the nitpicks that we've had going throughout.
I'm sure there'll be a whole slew of new ones, but
thing, yeah. But as for the Mother Coral thing, I thought that they really heavily implied that she's going to go to Dathomir. And she might be the like progenitor of the Night Brothers or something. Like, how cool would that be? Like, she's like Maul's grandmother or great grandmother or something like that.
I'm
like,
curious.
How did the Zabraks get to Dathomir? Because they're not native.
Well, I don't know if that whole culture arose in 100 years either,
doesn't
but
matter,
I think, well, because she's an
culture,
Iridonian.
the culture. Sorry.
They look like
they're
they were
living in
firmly
huts, man.
Established. Yeah,
they were not exactly a thriving civilization there. And they talked about how, specifically, the Night Sisters don't train younglings, which was an interesting thing that I don't think was necessarily true as far as we had seen later on. So maybe at that point they didn't train younglings, but like, I guess it depends on what you define as a youngling, because Asajj was definitely a youngling when they like traded her away, and then they had Morgan there as a child training. So I'm like, I'm not sure. Maybe that's something that changed about Night Sister culture in the last 100 years. That maybe they started training younglings.
Asajj was definitely taken to the temple, and she was a Jedi. So yeah, it's interesting for sure.
She wasn't.
Andy, so Asajj Ventress was a Jedi. We're not going to argue about that, are we?
She wasn't taken to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, though, was she? She was.
I don't know. We see her as a Padawan, so I just assumed.
No. She was. So she was captured from slave traders on a third planet. Her master, who was a contemporary of Count Dooku and Qui-Gon Jinn specifically, he was sort of like a self-outcast on this planet. He saved her from slavers, and then he trained her separate from the Jedi. So she was a Jedi. She was trained as a Padawan, but she never went to the temple. She was traded from the
you're right.
She was either abducted from the Night Sisters or they gave her away. I don't think that's very clear. She might have been abducted from the Night Sisters, but either way, the Night Sisters had babies with them.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. You're
at some point
right.
after
I'll
this.
hold that L. Yeah.
The Dooku. I just re-listened to Dooku Jedi Lost like a month and a half ago. So
I forgot how much Ventress is in that book too. That's interesting.
It's all her. It's all her.
Yeah.
She is the main character of that book.
And I'm not sure where she went, but as a baby, she sure did have lipstick and a full set of brows.
There it is. Yeah. That's what I was remembering, was that flashback of her as a baby, and I'm pretty sure there was Jedi involvement there, but maybe I'm totally tripping. I can't remember.
She wasn't like taken to the temple from there like another.
She was
thing. Like,
taken
she
away
was
from her
discovered.
family, though.
So this is another
Yeah.
situation where Michael's right, but I'm not wrong, and it's one of those where it's like, yeah, you're right, but from a certain
point of view.
Yeah, exactly. Reba says she
tired.
just watched those Clone Wars episodes. She was trained by a Jedi on another planet. Yes.
I'm trying to
Star
remember
Wars
her
has a lot
Jedi's name.
of Kai Narek.
Yeah, it was Kai Narek. That's right, Kai.
Todd McDanger.
Still
You
too
think I
loud.
forgot? You think I forgot? No, he needed one more for the road. There were a lot of McDanger comments that didn't get that, and I was starting to feel not myself. But he says Star Wars has a lot of human trafficking, it seems, and you're exactly right. It's a problem, and you can do something about it. For the price of a cup of coffee a day, you can help sponsor a Force-sensitive child to not be taken up by this cult posing as a governmental organization. No, that's whatever Rancourt said. Anyway, all right. Final thoughts from me. Thanks for asking. I really love this show. I'm very glad. I hope we get more, and I hope next season focuses on the Sith. I hope that it follows the model of other shows that we've seen, where it starts out intimate and then grows in galactic proportions. That's what everybody says about Andor. That it started out with a small story and it grew, much like Mandalorian did as well. I have high hopes for Andor season 2. To Michael's point, that if it sucks, it doesn't matter. Season 1 was perfect. If Acolyte season 2 sucks, I don't know that I can say that this is perfect, but I do think there will always be a lot of the highs were very, very high, and the lows were not as low as other shows have subjected us to. That's my take anyway. Really, really like this show. Really, really hope we get a season 2, and I really, really do think we're gonna get a season 2. Now, looking forward to the future of On Program. We're glad you're here. We've had a lot of fun talking with you guys. We're not going anywhere. We're gonna be doing rewatches of these shows, as I mentioned. Look forward to that while we wait for Skeleton Crew and the announcement of any other animated shows. I've also put a little cheddar into the streaming rig, so Wyatt was going to be in charge of the on-program gaming stuff. He says Outlaws is going to suck dookie water, so if he ends up being out, I will be playing Outlaws, and you will get to see how uniquely, horrifically bad I am at games. You'll get to watch me talk to you about the lore of a lot of things while I slog through it on story mode. So get ready for that. Enjoy that, because it's just gonna be so fantastic. You get to hang out with me while we play video games. Like, what more could you want? Truly, that's what we have for you on program. So come back next week. We're gonna be talking about either the first half or the entirety of this show, depending on how much we're able to binge, and we're gonna review it in its entirety. Can't wait to talk about it. We're excited to see you then. This has been On Program.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. This was a lot of fun. Todd McDanger says he had a good time. I'm certainly glad to hear that. We love you, Todd. We love you. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel so you can see more of us. Every Friday night we're doing this damn thing. So slap a like Andrew says. Subscribe like I'm saying. And leave me a comment. If you caught the live stream later, tell me what you were thinking. We'll reply. I got nothing better to do. I sit in hotel rooms all week, man. I got you. Let me know what you're thinking. All right, we'll see you next week.